All right, this is the Air Conservation Commission meeting, Thursday, January 24th, 2019. General business, confirmation of the agenda. Any changes?
We have a lot of changes, actually. Ice House Partners would like to continue to the next meeting.
Okay.
Alan Minoyan is not able to be with us this evening and doesn't know when he would like to be on the agenda again.
Okay.
And the request for COC for Orion Park Drive, I did get out there. I was not able to confirm their fence or their signage.
Could we save that for discussion under the actual item? I wouldn't take it off.
Okay, would however you would like to handle that, but
Okay.
yep. And then adding the annual report, is that an office update?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Then those are the changes.
Okay, motion to approve agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting minutes.
And I will note, I sent it out to everybody. That is a corrected version where Mark Archambault's last name is spelled correctly. I've been misspelling it. And I also corrected my spelling of superseding. It has an S in the middle. And apparently our DPW superintendent is Mark Wetzel, not Mark Wetland. Thank you, Mark.
I thought that was interesting. I said,
Mark Wetland.
Wow.
I had to read it a couple times to make sure. Is that really supposed to be Mark? What exactly are we talking about?
That's awesome.
Well, you know, you're typing along and you get automatic and wet, you know,
Yeah.
there's a normal pattern.
Auto-populate.
Right. The word is just
Yeah, Wetzel,
well
wetlands.
used.
Yeah.
Any other changes, comments, corrections? Motion to approve minutes as written.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any announcements?
We received an email today, a notice of grant opportunity for culvert replacement municipal assistance grant program. So I'm announcing that.
DPW
Is that
get
through?
that?
Yeah, I'm sure it went to DPW too, but I'll send it on.
Okay.
That's the only announcement.
Any accounts payable?
We have our annual contract with Beaver Solutions arrived in the mail today. This is for the maintenance of our beaver deceivers.
Okay.
How many do we have, Joanne?
Three
Three of ours.
of ours. There's one other one in town that's completely underwater and not at a physical dam.
Where-
So that one doesn't need any.
Is that the Rosewood? No.
No, it's the Rock Meadow
No.
Pond.
Oh, yeah. He
Maintenance is just cleaning the debris.
Cleaning, well, for instance, at Long Pond Spillway, it is kind of keeping the beaver activity away from the actual spillway itself. The beavers will build up around the spillway, and Mike and his helper get in there with their chest waders on and just kind of move sticks in mud.
As they showed pictures last time of that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What other two did they work on?
It says Nonoquakis Brook Dam,
Bushes? Yeah.
It's behind the
Long
fire
Pond
station.
Spillway, and the Rod and Gun Club Utility Right-of-Way Dam.
That's the Rock Meadow.
Okay.
Yes,
But he doesn't really have to do anything there.
right, because both ends of it are really underwater.
In 2019, Beaver Solutions will inspect and perform routine maintenance on all flow devices at least twice annually and as needed to ensure effectiveness. Price includes our comprehensive Beaver Solutions worry-free guarantee for every site we maintain. The labor and materials for any minor repairs are also included. $295 per site with a 20% multi-site discount. $708 total.
So if they don't do much work on one site, is it still $295?
Yeah. It's a maintenance contract, so.
Okay.
Kind of like a snowplow, right?
Yeah, yeah,
If
okay.
it snows, I'm going to have to be there a lot.
Yeah,
Roll the dice, right?
right, okay. Just curious.
Now, ours wasn't one of the ones that, I think you either showed a picture or mentioned about beavers having chewed it. That wasn't any of ours, right? Is that just what we've heard has happened in the past?
Right, the one that was chewed was at Far and Near in
Okay.
Shirley.
Okay.
Yeah, which was
All
the
right.
trustees.
I just wondered if
Problem.
they found that or something. Okay.
Beaver Solutions maintenance guarantee. If a culvert or flexible pond, level, or pipe we maintain is blocked by beavers, we will either fix the problem at no charge or refund double your maintenance fee. Tiny print. This maintenance guarantee does not cover damage from other dams, vandalism, catastrophic events, or corrosion after 6 years. So, motion to pay Beaver Solutions $708.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I think we have to.
Sign it.
It really is the highlight of my fall, getting to go with Mike.
Field trips.
Yeah, because he is just so enthusiastic and knowledgeable and loves what he does. So,
Yeah,
yep,
met him once.
we're in good
Car,
hands.
he's a,
Okay, 7:15, open the public hearing, request for amendment to order conditions, 323 West Main Street, Ice House Partners, DEP file 100-0321. Motion to continue the hearing to February 14th.
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next item is discussion Solitude Lake Management Summer 2019 Pond Treatment Options. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
So you should all
Names are?
have a copy of the last year's report in your packet.
Can you just state your names?
Yep, I'm Joe Honorato, Solitude Lake Management.
And you're not Dave, but there you go.
Dominic Marindolo, Solitude Lake Management.
All right, so thanks for having us. We're excited to get to talk to you all. I know I've met Joanne. I've definitely met Jess on a couple occasions. Just met George, so it's good to meet you guys. I don't know how familiar each of you is with Solitude Lake Management, but I figured I'd take just a minute, at least tell you a little bit more about our company. In case you're not familiar, I know we have a guest out there too, who, would probably want to know kind of what we do. So we're a full-service lake management company, so by no means are we a chemical company or anything like that. It is a part of our business to apply herbicides, but we do everything from vegetation surveys, water quality, water testing, general lake management, wetland consulting. We do aeration, fountain sales, service, installation, and maintenance. We do, benthic mats. We have a whole mechanical division, so mechanical hydro rakes and harvesters. Really almost anything you can think of in a water body, we do. So, we take an approach where we essentially gather information. What is the best approach, and what do we need to do to, I guess, preserve the wetland or the resource. So, just a little bit about the history in Ayer. We've been working with the town of Ayer. Dominic can probably get a little more into this. He's obviously a lot more senior than I, but, we've been working with Ayer for several years. Like Joanne was saying a little bit before we started here today, somewhat on and off. The general approach for not just Ayer, but a lot of towns historically has been, especially with invasive species, you can kind of do one large application or management effort and kind of set it and forget it for a couple of years. There's some systemic herbicides on the market, things like that might buy you a couple of years of nuisance level control, but unfortunately it's an ecosystem, it's an invasive species, and it really just needs to be managed. So we've kind of, I hope, at least transitioned in the last couple of years to more of an annual approach to some extent. I know, was it Jess that put together that presentation, the PowerPoint?
Bonnie.
Okay, so Bonnie put together that presentation, which I thought was great, and you kind of see the staggering management costs. So it's an ecosystem. It changes literally on a daily basis. And so historically we've been managing two real dominant invasive species, so variable water milfoil and fanwort. And then also nuisance level water lilies. I always use the phrase, we're not a pool company, we're not trying to create a swimming pool. We're just literally trying to protect the ecosystem. I had taken some calls from some residents that live around Flanagan's and things like that, the lilies. It's challenging because lilies are a native species. So we've been trying to balance, managing the invasive species as priority number one, while, somewhat scaling back lilies in the last year or two, but leaving them to a healthy amount. They tend to reach this nuisance level. So that's kind of been the focus over the last several years. Dominic can probably shed some light on historical management and maybe go through some of the highlights of the 2018 management program and some successes and things like that. And then we can kind of move forward with some recommendations and questions. And
Yeah. It looks like you have the 17 report there. That's the one the year before.
Oh, great.
and the PDF got lost. So.
But as Joe said, we've been working with the town for many years. I think I can think back probably to the late 90s even. I started at Aquatic Control Technology predecessor company in 1995, and I can remember working on these ponds quite far back. So, but as Joe said, I commend the town really and the commission specifically that you have a dedication here to try to manage the ponds on a more regular basis, and I think we're already seeing the benefits of that now. 2 consecutive years of management has really shown some benefits, I think, in terms of limiting how much we think we're going to have to do in 2019, and also obviously limiting, potentially lowering your budgets as well. So I think we're already beginning to see the benefits of kind of ongoing maintenance. So specifically, as Joe said, we're managing variable water milfoil and fanwort. Those are really the primary targets. So in that vein, we kind of saw what we had for specifically fanwort. I'll talk about first at the end of 2017. So we still had a few small spots of fanwort in Flanagan's Pond and Sandy's Pond. So the plan was obviously to retreat those specific areas with sonar, and we had a discussion with the commission that's very important to get in there as early as possible with the sonar fluoridone herbicide. So we really, even before we saw the plants really start to grow actively or emerge, this past spring we get in there real early and got the sonar pellets on those areas very, very early. I think we were out on May 11th with the first fluoridone treatments. We did go out and look at all the ponds. We started, the milfoil is early, comes out earlier than the fanwort, so we were starting to see that. We knew we had, so we did the fanwort treatments with the sonar, the initial treatment on May 11th. With the pre-treatment survey, we saw the variable milfoil coming up on Pine Meadow Pond, Flanagan's, and Sandy, so we were able to map that, the areas as they came up this spring. And we conducted a treatment with the diquat herbicide, which is a contact-based herbicide. So it's generally just killing the foliage, the stems of the above ground parts of the plant. And by killing the foliage, you do see some loss of root systems as well, but it's not a systemic herbicide like the fluoridone. So we did that treatment of the diquat on all 3 ponds on June 7th. And the treatment areas are in the report as well. We also at that time put in the second dose of the fluoridone on all the areas we treated on May 11th, basically to maintain that concentration that typically needs to be maintained for 60 plus days to really achieve the desired level of fanwort control. And then we did a final fluoridone treatment for the same areas on July 11th. And again, the areas were much smaller. So 2017, we did a kind of a whole lake treatment at Flanagan's Pond, and we did some areas of Sandy Pond as well. So Flanagan's Pond, we just have 2 areas of fanwort growth by the inlet from Sandy Pond and one other spot. And we had half a dozen areas, I think, on Sandy Pond that we dosed with the fluoridone. We then went out on August 27th to do a treatment of the water lilies. And again, as Joe mentioned, we're not out there trying to spray every single water lily plant. We're really trying to maintain areas that, with leaving the plants alone, kind of in areas that are against wooded shorelines, not high use areas, focusing more on maintaining kind of up in the middle, open water areas, access points and stuff like that. So it was a very targeted type of a treatment with the AquaPro, and that was done on all 3 of the ponds as well. Flanagan's Pond obviously has the most water lilies. It's the Pine Meadow Pond. It also does. Both of those are much shallower than Sandy Pond. In Sandy Pond, you just have a few spots around the shoreline, and I think we focused most of that treatment on the beach area, trying to keep the lily pads on the side of the beach from encroaching. And again, on Pine Meadow Pond, we focused the lily treatment on, again, near the dam, against the shoreline there where people come down and fish, and through the middle of the pond, but we didn't really go into the way far back and along the shore. We didn't treat much along the shore. Flanagan's Pond, especially the eastern end of Flanagan's Pond, as you know, is super, super shallow. It's literally a lily factory, I think, out there. It's perfect conditions. After the sonar treatment, the whole lake sonar treatments, we had a lot of that bottom kind of rising up, and we had some floating islands with some of the decaying root material, but we still had a lot of lilies growing back. We tried to get in there as much as possible, but it's definitely a lot more challenging on Flanagan Pond to manage the water lilies. So we did our final, then we went out, did our final survey of all the ponds on September 4th. And happy to say that for Flanagan Pond, we didn't see any fanwort whatsoever during the final survey. Few very limited spots of milfoil regrowth, which we expect because we only use the contact herbicide for the spot treatments. We saw on Sandy Pond, again, a few small areas of milfoil that had grown back or started growing after the treatment, and just a few fanwort plants, very chlorotic or very affected by the herbicide in the inlet from Long Pond, I guess it is. But they look very damaged, very beat up. So, and on Pine Meadow, there was a couple areas again of milfoil, which we expected. So I think, basically the success of the 2017 and 18 treatments on the fanwort is very good. I think we've been able to really go after that plant to the point where we feel like we probably don't need to plan to do any fluoridone treatments in either pond in 2019. I think we're at the point there where we look to just kind of monitor the fanwort growth. Again, with the variable milfoil, we feel we'll need to get out on all 3 ponds to do some spot treatments with diquat. I think we should try to keep that in check, keep as minimal amount of foliage during the main part of the summer season. And again, try to go out and do some lily pads on all 3 ponds as well. So that's kind of a summary of this year's program. Did I forget anything?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So I think let's throw it back to Joe to talk about and then we'll kind of team up on answering some questions, or if you want us to go in a little more detail about the recommendations for 19.
I have a question. Sure. What's the difference between AquaPro and diquat?
So AquaPro is diquat is Reward is the brand name, or Tribune. It's a contact herbicide that works specifically on a certain selection of plants, specific milfoil it works on. It does not work on fanwort. It does not work on water lilies.
Does it inhibit photosynthesis?
No, it actually inhibits a pathway of like a couple different proteins, other types of proteins in the plants that cause it basically to break down and die.
Okay. So is it a translational inhibitor, like protein translation or protein?
I'm not exactly sure. The protein synthesis probably, or it works in that type of pathway.
Okay. And what about AquaPro?
So AquaPro is a glyphosate-based herbicide. It's a systemic herbicide. Diquat is applied in the water. We set up a concentration in the water. It gets absorbed into the plants. The AquaPro treatments are done foliar treatments, so we're spraying the top of the dry leaves of the water lilies.
Okay.
And it does that. The systemic herbicide does get down into the root system, and we can be very selective on which lily pads we spray because it's a foliar treatment. We can cut lines. We can leave one side.
When you say foliar?
Foliar, so we're applying it to the foliage of the plant.
F-O-L-I-A-R.
Yeah,
So it gets down into the roots?
that does. Glyphosate is systemic. It does get down into the roots.
Okay. Okay.
It's similar to fluoridone in that respect. It's a systemic herbicide. Kills the entire plant.
Okay.
Are you anticipating the glyphosate product will be banned at some point?
No. No, I don't. I think there's definitely been some real high-profile news out there about certain organizations that have labeled it certain things, but I think by and far a vast majority of the different regulatory bodies, and especially in the United States, have chosen not to take that stance. So, and EPA looks at these products all the time. If they were to see anything really conclusive, definite information, they would act right away, but they also, every 15 years, they go re-register all these products. So they kind of take into account all the new science and techniques and stuff that may have occurred over the last 15 years and sort of bring in some more data and reevaluate that. So.
Any other questions?
Is there any other new treatments that you guys are experimenting with that could possibly be used instead, or is pretty, these are solid, proven, and we like to work with these? Or
Well, yeah, I mean, there's definitely some alternatives, right? I mean, fanwort is a tricky one because there's really only 2 products that are registered in Massachusetts, and as far as I know, there isn't anything on the horizon. So your real only 2 choices on the fanwort are the systemic, the sonar that we've been using to manage the fanwort, and then Clipper, which is flumioxazin. And I guess you'd have to, there was,
We can't.
the town didn't want to use it or can't use it or something, so that's out of the question. So that only leaves the one for fanwort control.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an easy one.
okay.
Milfoil, I mean, there's definitely a number of products that work on milfoil. There's a number of systemics, and a number of contacts. So the diquat, I mean, the benefit to that is it's fairly cost effective. Kind of gives you season-long control, but it's inexpensive. So it works kind of to manage milfoil. There is a new product that it received EPA registration. It's kind of pending the mass process. It just needs to be adopted by the GEIR. So it's very close. It may be usable in mass in 2019, but it's called Procelicor. The state of New Hampshire, actually, we did some trials up there, and they've since switched most of their public lake treatments over to Procelicor. So it's a systemic herbicide in that it does impact the root structure of the milfoil, but it works very, very quickly, and it doesn't need to achieve that concentration like a sonar. So it's a lot better. So I guess the challenge with sonar, the way we've been using it in Flanagan's and Sandy's, is just that it's really not meant to spot treat. It's really geared towards achieving this concentration almost water body wide. So to treat a small area, you need to build up this concentration, but it's so diluted that you need to go in with more product, and it's so expensive. So the Procelicor wouldn't do anything on fanwort. Everything, I was hoping it would have some impact on fanwort, but it just doesn't. But on milfoil, it's kind of the end all be all. It's one of those that we don't even know. I don't think we've really realized the full extent of control that Procelicor can achieve. But some of the tests that CPRO, the same manufacturer that makes sonar, makes Procelicor, and they're kind of the giant in the the aquatic space. But some of the trials that they've done show that, I mean, multi-year control, potentially even longer in terms of milfoil control. So it does work on variable milfoil, Eurasian water milfoil, hybrids. Expensive, but it is something that you can almost phase. If you had 30 acres of milfoil that you want to manage, we have a lot of lakes, some in New Hampshire, since that's the state that's really kind of adopted it first in New England. They have 30, 40 acres worth of milfoil. It's expensive, but they can do, 10 this year. They know they don't need to touch that 10 next year, so they do another 10, and then they do another 10. The challenge is really just the fanwort. I mean, the milfoil is, but there are products kind of on the horizon and things that could be tools in the future. Probably not for 19, but in the future, yeah,
I agree. I think Procelicor could be an option there. I think we'd probably like to get a little more experience using it in some other water bodies. But again, you also have fanwort. As Joe said, it's not going to work on fanwort, so we'd kind of have to see how. So the whole fluoridone treatments have affected the milfoil as well that year, but control tends to not last as long as it does on the fanwort. So, as we get experience with Procelicor, we may be able to try to work that into the program somehow.
And you folks were doing the treatments in New Hampshire?
Yeah, we do. I don't want to say 100%, but probably 100% of the New Hampshire milfoil.
And how long do you think
treatments.
before Max may adopt that? Or?
So it's literally been approved by the EPA. I mean, Don may know a little bit more. As far as I know, it's been approved by Mass.
It's approved so it's received its federal approval, EPA. It's been accepted, registered in Massachusetts, but in order to use anything in lakes and ponds in Massachusetts, we also have to be conform with the generic environmental impact report that was done. So they've yet to kind of make the move to incorporate the new product into the GEIR. So once that's done, and from what we hear, should be soon. Like we could potentially get an email kind of any day saying, yeah, it's all set. But until then, we were waiting. We have a number of projects that we're just waiting to hear about that getting approval. So I do have a question about the clipper. So I know there's some natural heritage issues. Is that I just couldn't recall what the species were.
Because it's an ACEC. And I think I was the one a couple years ago to talk to somebody at Natural Heritage
Okay,
and they said on the phone that we wouldn't approve it for use.
Is it the mussels of concern, or?
I think it's just I think it was more generic. They wouldn't have done an ACEC Great Pond.
But I think that's one reason. I think there's a lot of aquatic organisms that are very close to shore, like mussels and amphibians, turtles.
So I mean, the only concern that I know of that Natural Heritage has brought forth is specifically against mussels. So I mean, the tests on Clipper flumioxazin haven't shown any adverse effects to like turtles, fish, anything like that. There was a Natural Heritage identified sort of a data gap in the filing documents specifically about freshwater mussels. My understanding that's what the concern was.
We do have a lot in Sandy Pond.
Yeah.
So,
So I mean, it's unfortunately it's a very good tool as for spot treatments as an alternative to fluoridone. So I don't know if I usually do on the lake projects, typically with Misty and Merrill from Natural Heritage. So I just want to make sure for sure it's 100% that we have because I think it could be a useful tool here. I mean, if it was.
we can confirm.
If you want
We can double check.
or I can reach out to her. I talk to her often too.
Yeah,
I don't want to overstep anything, but we'd be happy to certainly understand if there's a concern. Obviously, that's fine. It's off the table. It's just it could be a potentially useful enough tool that I think it might be worth getting 100% confirmation from Natural Heritage that they wouldn't entertain.
Sure.
Are you saying that the data gap on what the impact is on muscle with regards to the clipper?
Yeah, just basically so when they register a product, they provide they're required to do all sorts of testing and provide that data. That Natural Heritage just felt that there wasn't enough data, or they didn't do enough testing, or really any at all on freshwater mussels.
Okay.
So they weren't comfortable with that. They would like to see, and we're hoping at some point a researcher or a university will because it doesn't affect anything else. We wouldn't expect it to affect mussels either, but it would take a university or somebody to take the research time to actually do some testing to fill in that gap, basically.
And as far as you know, that gap is not looking to be filled at the moment by anybody. No one's out there doing it at the moment.
No, I mean there's some indications. We've had a couple of times we thought that something was going to get done, and it didn't end up happening. Last I heard was last year they were hoping to maybe get UMass or somebody to do some testing, but I haven't heard anything since. So probably not going to get filled. So they won't allow it where there's listed mussels, but if there's not listed mussels, they will generally allow it. Of course, they also would evaluate listed aquatic plant species, other stuff too. But if in lakes that don't have listed species, they do allow us to use it even in the presence of mussels, non-listed mussels. There are some restrictions currently on how often you can treat with clipper, and dosing, more restrictive on dosing than the label currently, and just in terms of how much area you treat in 1 year. So there are still some restrictions on all lakes and ponds with clipper because of that data gap. But they wouldn't, if you have a listed freshwater mussel or probably a listed aquatic plant species, that would obviously be the reason that they would say not in these ponds.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's easy enough to double check.
Yeah.
And that was a couple years ago. I talked to somebody, so.
Yep. I have a question about mechanical methods. Are we at a point where, say with water lilies, we could consider mechanical removal, or how effective do you think that is? Is it even a possibility for our ponds?
Yeah, so I mean, short answer is when you're dealing with milfoil and fanwort, those plants spread through fragmentation, so we try and avoid the use of mechanical, right? So that kind of came into play when you decide, well, what technique do we use, right? In terms of water lilies, it's extremely effective. So water lilies have rhizomes that are, subsurface buried in the muck. And so the hydro rake, it's essentially a floating backhoe to some extent. So it's a floating barge, paddle wheels, if you've never seen one, but it has a York rake arm attachment. It can go in and actually remove the rhizomes. So you can get fairly long-term control of lilies. I mean, there's definitely pros and cons to it. The pros, it's extremely effective. Two, you're not using herbicides. I mean, not that herbicides are bad, but the more you can limit that, great. The downsides, logistic challenges, access, which I think we probably have access for the most part. But then you got to think about disposal. So you're actually removing this stuff. Now, where does it go? I mean, in town projects, it tends to kind of work because DPW will usually lend a hand. You could save some money by just having them bring it. A lot of the organics that are removed are great fill. They're so nutrient rich and things like that. What?
Goats eat them?
I don't know. I don't know. All I know is
Just get
I
them
remember
in
we
the
raked at Town Beach in Sturbridge, and there was a couple people lined up with 5-gallon buckets to take some of the material for their gardens. But you can mix sand with it, you can grow anything. But then the cost. I mean, it's probably 5-10x the cost of treating lilies. So it's something to consider. You'd never rake an entire pond's lilies, but you could be very spot specific. You can work within your budget because ultimately the rake bills at a daily rate. So you can, I may say to do what you want to do, it's going to be 200 days of raking and cost this. And you can say, well, our budget allows for 3 days. And you can just kind of guide that operator to do what you want to do. I mean, we'd obviously want to take proper precautions to not spread any milfoil or fanwort, maybe some curtains, making sure that we've treated prior, things like that. But there are ponds, I think of like Lake Boone and Hudson, where we've done some hydro raking and they're currently managing fanwort as well. And we just take the proper precautions, but it is, it's extremely effective. I mean, you're getting the benefit of removing those nutrients and those organics as well. So pros and cons, but it could be a tool.
I think the eastern part of Flanagan's Pond and the northwestern part where the water comes in from Pine Meadow Pond would be large areas to work with, but I think those are kind of the type of areas that would really, really benefit from a hydro raking project. So.
That or even just a general beach cleanup. We do that with Auburn and Sturbridge, and I mean there's tons of towns that just generally speaking, just leaf debris and things like that, in just in the vicinity of their beach area, it's a great tool as well. So that's a thought.
Are there any other management practices we could be doing that might help keep the weeds down?
Not really, no. I mean, there's other techniques that maybe would be more applicable to smaller ponds or smaller areas, but I think given all the parameters that we're dealing with here, that we're using the best methods that are available.
All right. What about woody plants that are growing in along the shores? Any control for those?
Well, I remember years ago, we actually tried to do the weevil introductions on Flanagan's Pond one year. For the loosestrife. But hydro raking is one thing that can be used on emergent plants too. If you want to try to reclaim an area that's been kind of succession for quite a while, you could potentially use raking. There's herbicide treatments too, but the downfall to that is you still have all that root material that's up above the water, and that doesn't go away, or it takes many, many years to decompose.
Yeah, the Phragmites and the loosestrife, the root systems are so deep, and the rhizomes and for Phragmites,
Right.
it's really hard to get at.
And I can even send you, if you're interested, we just did a webinar. We started this whole educational webinar series, and we did one on mechanical. So it touched upon mechanical harvesting, but it was really focused on the hydro rake and the capabilities, some befores and afters, some focuses on some projects and things like that. So I can send you a link if you want, if you're interested. It was like a 45-minute thing, so I can send that. I'll probably just send it to Joanne, and you can forward it if that works.
Yep. Yeah.
Any questions from the audience?
I'm just curious how you sold this to townspeople.
And have you discovered how much we've been paying for this?
No.
Oh.
No.
Well.
That I'm sure, but just trying to convince people in town that chemicals can be okay. What kind of backlash? I mean.
Back in 2010-11, we had on Flanagan Pond, which had gone several years without being treated. We had a crowd of angry villagers with pitchforks and torches that showed up at a Board of Selectmen meeting. So the lack of treatment created its own momentum on the part of many citizens, so that actually wasn't a problem. We do have a few who keep periodically bringing up grass carp, which are illegal to use in Massachusetts, sterile grass carp, and a lot of problems with those anyways, other issues, but so we have those people. There's a few of those who object to chemical and suggest something like that, which is not remotely doable. So otherwise, I wouldn't say we haven't had that much of a problem. The only one issue that is more contentious is treating Flanagan Pond, which doesn't have the public access that Sandy Pond and Pine Meadow Pond do, but we haven't had a concerted rebellion against the use of chemicals.
No, and I think, I mean, you know, the term chemical, right? I mean, the whole our bodies are made of
I know,
chemicals,
I
right?
know. I
So-
understand
right,
that, I
so-
get that, it's
Right.
George you.
Yeah. So I think that the argument is, you know, you just got to make sure that, you know, what you're using doesn't have an adverse or adversarial, you know, event on ponds or species or, you know, anything. And, you know, it's been proven that there's no deleterious sort of effects, except for, you know, Clipper does have some effect on probably mussels and some other maybe smaller,
Right.
right? And so,
But I guess my issue is that there's so much negative stuff out there, particularly about glyphosate,
yeah.
which a lot of it's not based on science.
Right.
Right, right.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we deal with a lot of that, honestly. I mean, there's probably a couple on every water body. I mean, and it's one of those things that usually, in my case, or in my opinion, it's always just an educational component. You know, for the most part. I mean, if it's emotional, it's difficult to
Yeah.
challenge. But if
Yeah.
it's, you know, usually it's just a lack of education. I mean, they don't realize that usually we're treating in parts per billion concentrations. So it's so diluted, it's such a trace amount, you know, that it's targeting a photosynthesis process in a plant. You know, things like that they just really don't understand. You know, I mean, certain herbicides like Sonar you can use in drinking water. I mean, so it's, you know, they just don't know these things, and sometimes it's just an educational component. I mean, we have and always will, you know, provide data to kind of help combat that. But I will add, sometimes it's the flip side. I get people from lake associations calling me because I recommended aeration or I recommended hand pulling because it's just not at the point of using herbicides, and they say, no, I want to treat. And I say, but that's not the best approach. You know what I mean? And it's the flip side. They want to treat. It's like, no, you know, so you kind of just, you take it on a situation by situation basis, and really you got to look at it with the goal in mind, because ultimately the invasive species is, you know, worse than anything.
Absolutely,
You know, so.
I agree with that, but from what I've heard from my townspeople, the chemicals are evil, but even organic practices are chemicals, and
You should have a big public meeting and invite these guys. Or
Yeah,
some
I mean,
other-
we-
actually, I think we did
It sounds like
contact you a
it's-
few years ago about treating some Phragmites.
I think I might have talked to Dave,
Yeah.
I don't know where it went, but
Well, it
But yeah,
turns
I
out
mean-
those Phragmites were on private property.
okay.
So-
Maybe that's why I never heard back. But yeah, I mean, you know, they brought me in really to just kind of handle things like that, you know, deal with, you know, new prospects and
Yeah.
the pieces that come along with it, all those components, you know, so. So-
That's just my question. I mean, I applaud you for doing this, and I know it's expensive, so that's my next, is like, where's this money come from? But our biggest hurdle would be getting over the education thing. I think that's our biggest hurdle. 'Cause-
Yeah, I will say we're probably, I mean, we have certainly had situations where we've had to, as Joe said, educate, you know, go to meetings and whatnot, but I would say, well over 95+% of the time we generally are successful in being able to, you know, bring people help them understand and be successful in going forward with the project.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a few percent that, you know, you just can't convince them, but.
Yeah, I mean, I remember one, it was Dominic and I that attended this presentation. It was actually to a lake association, but the lake was this prestigious lake in 3 different towns, and there were members of the conservation commissions there. And we were proposing a whole lake sonar herbicide program, and there were people that just wanted to mechanically harvest. But it was fanwort milfoil. I mean, as you know, why we don't recommend that. And I walked into that, I felt like it was Rocky fighting the Russian, you know? But then by the time we left, and there was probably 150 people in the room, you know, by the time we left, I mean, everybody was in favor, you know, and it wasn't as much of a sale thing as much as it was just giving them facts and letting them form their own opinions, you know? So it's just an education component.
Okay.
Indeed.
we lost our screen for some reason.
So,
Do we want to discuss how to proceed?
yeah, what
for
about
next
your
year?
monitoring trigger idea?
Yeah. So
Trigger
that-
levels.
So monitor and then treat at, at discretion, I guess. I mean, I think our budget, we have a budget of X amount of dollars, right, for 2019. So we will. And, I mean, I think the hope was, not, because 2017, 2018 were pretty extensive treatments, and we're hoping to cut back a bit in 2019, monitor first, and then just based on monitoring in the early spring, decide what really needs to kind of get treated, and hopefully just spot treatment in certain areas. I wouldn't expect, whole ponds to come back like gangbusters, but, and then kind of decide where, where and when, right? Oh, there it is.
Yeah, so I mean, we can look at
Yeah.
this, right? Obviously, we've seen a decline in costs from 17 to 18. 17, there was a lot of sonar really targeting the fan work because it's really the only choice
Right.
there, and it's unfortunately the most expensive product out there. You got to build this concentration, so to spot treat it, it gets even more expensive. But decline in 18, very successful year. I mean, we have some thoughts on budgets and things for 19. And some thoughts moving forward. I mean, you can make whatever decisions you want, but I mean, guys like Dom, they know these ponds inside and out, so you can reasonably expect if you're treating with contacts, you're going to get quite a bit of regrowth. I mean, virtually almost 100%, So that's kind of been the technique to manage the milfoil. So I'd say it's likely recommended that you just go after the milfoil. I mean, we can kind of give you a cost to just manage the milfoil, but keep in mind it's a lot of acreage. It's a lot of water bodies. So I mean, costs can't be too low. You definitely need the monitoring component, regardless of how much or how little you're going to treat or whatever. Monitoring is probably the cornerstone of any program. So you have that. You definitely got to have your DEP permit in place. Anytime you treat, you got to post and things like that. So those are kind of your knowns. We reasonably know what to expect for milfoil control. The lilies are kind of an ongoing battle. We're never going to knock them out. We're not trying to do that, but we're definitely kind of scaling them back, especially like Flanagan's and Pine Meadow, where they tend to like take over because they're just so shallow. Just try to preserve open water habitat, really. So on an annual basis, you kind of start to work at that goal. So the milfoil, and I think our focus was specifically milfoil and just scaling back the lilies. The fanwort is just, honestly, it's just a wild card. I mean, and to some extent, that approach, that kind of monitor it and kind of see is kind of the approach we need to take for 2019. The challenge with that is, how do you budget? It's a challenge to budget. Everybody wants this all-in number, and unfortunately, it's like you can't, unless you're doing a whole lake sonar treatment, which likely isn't, it's not warranted at this point, and it would be way too expensive. The fanwort is just difficult to predict. So we had kind of come up with costs in mind, maybe build in an acre of fanwort treatment for sandy. Dom kind of has an idea of where you may see it coming back first, based on depths and densities from the past and things. So, but predominantly, continuing with the diquat for the milfoil, and we can, maybe pursue talks on Priscillicor moving forward in subsequent years. But predominantly diquat and continuing with the AquaPro to scale back some of the lilies. The surveys and things like that are important, to plan. So,
With regards to the lilies, is there like a break-even point between chemical treatment and the actual
Pulling, like
raking or
you're
pulling?
raking. Yeah.
If you
in
get
terms of
beyond-
like you're treating so many.
Yeah, if you get beyond a half an acre, you may as well just, chemically treat instead of trying to,
Well, yeah, I mean,
or vice versa.
just to give you a frame of reference, right? The rake is ultimately just it's a guy, it's a human on the machine. So goes back to a daily rate.
Yep.
It takes about a week, sometimes more. I mean, depending on the logistics to the offload site and the management area, likely a week or more to rake an acre of lilies.
Okay.
So I mean, you're talking $10,000, $12,000 an acre. And that doesn't include your disposal. I mean, like I said, DPW can help out, but I mean, you can treat, for that cost, I mean, you can treat several acres of lilies.
Okay.
It's, like I said, there's pros and cons,
I think too, it's
Well,
almost
what-
two different
what sort
things
of-
that you're trying to do. I mean, if you're just trying to manage the actual lily foliage, treatment generally the way to go. But if you really want to try to restore some water depth, get some of that root system and biomass. So I mean,
Right.
that's and that potentially, arguably at the point in
Yeah.
what some areas of
I think the
Flanagan's Pond.
yeah, the problem with Flanagan is, like, I think, year to year of treatment is, there's so much organic matter in there, and it's building up, it's building up. And so, where it was maybe, 3 feet or 2 feet, now is a foot, right?
Right.
And there's, like you said, islands all over the place where you can't even kayak through, right? So I think it would be, sad if certain areas were impassable, right?
right.
Where years ago they were, especially for fishing, right?
And does that potentially increase the potential for fan work then? Because like you said,
Yeah.
it's more using photosynthesis, right? And in shallower, that's where it grows more.
But you're getting more sunlight,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of optimal conditions. The more sunlight, better conditions for the plants to grow.
Yeah,
I tell
yeah.
you, managing the plants is going to actually slow down that process of shallowing up, because you're not, I mean, without management, you have full biomass growth and die off every year. So you're
Right.
actually stopping that process by managing the plants. You have less biomass.
Yeah, yeah, that's
annually,
true,
so
yeah. Yeah.
Still going to
Yeah.
happen, just going to
Yeah.
happen at a slower rate. And let's remember, Flanagan's Pond was
Right.
never a
I
sandy
know,
pond.
I know.
So it started off kind of, I like to say, it started off in Middle Age
Yeah,
already
Yeah.
when it
Yeah.
was created. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
already halfway towards its life cycle.
right, right.
With regards to the report that you guys did, so this shows,
I think
Right.
was that 18?
This
oh,
is
yeah,
18.
It is 18. Yep.
so this
okay.
shows 2017 fan work at year's end.
Yep.
Can you just help me with what exactly, so is this saying this is what it looked like from essentially the die-off of the previous year? Is that what
So
it's
we basically used because we wanted to get in and start early and get the Floridone in early, we actually looked at what living fanwort plants were there at the end of 2017 and
Okay.
used that to decide where we were going to treat in the spring early, because we didn't want to wait till the plants were tall enough even to eat seed. We wanted to have the
Okay,
plants, we wanted to have the Floridone in contact as soon as they started growing.
so if we go with the monitor aspect, as Bonnie recommends, what do we, I guess, how do we gauge that, right? So I'm seeing trace to sparse. Is there a sparse to completely infiltrated? I mean, what's our scale
Yeah,
to
so-
determine,
it's
when do you
used-
start treating?
Generally, it's called relative abundance is the scale, where it's
Okay.
trace, sparse, moderate, and dense. And there's no real finite, because it's also takes into account a little bit the height of the plant too. So if there was a bottom growing, like you have a lot of robin's pondweed, which is a really awesome plant in Flanagan's Pond. It's fern leaf pondweed. It grows very densely, but it always falls over, so it just creates like a blanket on the bottom. So it's a really good plant.
Yep,
But even though if that was 100% covered on the bottom, we still wouldn't call it dense, because it doesn't also reach the surface. So a dense plant would be full cover on the bottom plus
To the
reaching
top.
to the top of the water.
So then looking at the post-treatment
Yep.
measurements, as you say, right? I'm seeing sparse, trace to sparse, right? So, so then are we basically saying we hit moderate, that's when you start to treat? I mean, that's what I'm kind of surmising from this, but I want to hear from what you guys are telling us.
Yeah, no, I would say for an invasive species, generally, our goal is to sort of control any growth. Trace, sparse, dense, doesn't matter. So those post-treatment maps are after we've done a treatment on the milfoil that year. So that's why it's generally going to be only trace to sparse growth after being managed for the year. But as the next growth cycle starts in 2019, that's when we'll start to see more robust growth again, and that's where we would generally see more areas, potentially more sparse to maybe moderate growth.
So this blue where we're seeing variable.
Those are the
milfoil
treatment areas. So
this-
that's
so
early in
based
the
on
season. So that survey was done in April, so that's real early in the growing season, and we were already seeing this sparse to trace milfoil growth in many areas as compared to the post-treatment.
Okay, so we're seeing the trace to sparse and then identifying, so based on this, that's
Yeah.
why we hash mark this is where we want to treat.
Exactly.
Okay, so we were treating at trace to sparse,
Yeah.
not hitting moderate, so that's what I'm
Yeah,
trying to understand.
yeah.
But I think
So,
that-
yeah, I'm hoping like this year that will be a lot, like those dots will be fewer, right?
Right.
Right, in the spring.
I think we'll likely see some fanwort regrowth this year, but based on not seeing hardly any at all in the fall, I think we'll see it start to pop up over the course of the summer. We're not going to see probably much, if anything, in April. It's not going to be till probably June, July, August, and at that point, it's more than likely too late to start the fluoridone treatments. So, but that will give us kind of a plan or an idea of what we're going to need to do for 2020.
So if you adopt the sort of wait and see method of treating, is it too late once you do see the plants?
Well, that's where one of the reasons why Clipper, as we said, and we may not be able to use it here, but in other lakes where we can use it, that gives us kind of a mid to late season possibilities to treat fanwort. You know, it's the problem with the sonar is it takes 60 days to work. So once you start getting past June, you're almost getting to the point where it's kind of too late to use fluoridone, which is where Clipper would be potentially a better fit if we had that available. But
Is Clipper pelleted or is it liquid
it's a
or granular?
granular, but it's not a granular. What do they call it? Wettable powder, not wettable powder, like a water dispersible granule. So it's basically it's a powder, but we mix it in the water, kind of suspend it, and then we apply it subsurface behind the boat. So it's
Then how much, once you apply it, how much spread does it have? Like, does it spread quite a bit post addition?
So the funny thing with Clipper is it depends kind of on the pH of the water, how long it lasts. So at high pHs, it tends to just kind of degrade very quickly, and at lower pHs, it'll hang around a little bit longer. So depending on how long it lasts can kind of also determine how far it may spread just from natural water movement.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think in most lakes and ponds, you know, you're generally around a neutral pH, give or take. So Clipper generally will only hang around for a matter of hours, certainly less than a day. So we probably only see a couple 100 feet of movement outside of where we put it.
Okay, okay, okay. Does it break down into two components? Is it light activated? Does it just break down?
It's mostly I forgot what they call it. It's mostly a chemical reaction, so that's why the pH is so important.
Okay.
It reacts with the water.
Okay.
And there may be a light fluoridone. I think one of the main ways that degrades is photolysis by light.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Just curious. Okay.
One of the for any aquatic herbicide, one of the things the EPA and others look at is the fate, and I don't think anything that lasts too long is going to be an option for
Yeah.
water because they know it's going to move, and it's just
Right,
anything
even-
that hangs around too long is likely not going to be able to be used in lakes and ponds.
Yeah, even the glyphosate doesn't hang around very long.
No.
No.
No, it doesn't.
So you have some budget numbers?
Yeah, I mean, we threw some together kind of before we came out here. If you want them, I mean, I know I saw Bonnie's presentation up there. I know
I think that was the next
it
slide.
kind of
So that's up to
almost
work with.
inferred, yeah, it almost inferred that you wanted to keep it under 25. You know, or actually it says 20. I thought the copy I had said 25.
I think we upped it to
We
25.
went up to
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so,
Feel
I mean,
free to
it's,
give us a
you know, well, I mean,
Yeah,
it's.
we don't have to spend.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, it's, you know, it's challenging, right? From a couple of avenues. One, it's a lot of water with a lot of invasive species and some aggressive ones, you know. And the fanwort specifically is difficult to manage, to spot manage with sonar, and sonar is so expensive. And, so we're kind of working all these scenarios in our head. But we have shown a reduction, right, over time. The good thing is excellent fanwort control in 2018. So it's a bit of a wild card. I mean, we can expect fanwort it's not going to be gone forever. I mean, we're probably going to see some popping back in 19, like Dom said. We likely just won't see that until, summer at some point, because we did get such excellent control over the past couple of years, really in all the ponds. So that's a bit of a wild card. I mean, we almost kind of had the same approach as you on the fanwort specifically, that kind of wait and see approach to some extent, because it'll help us really plan for 2020. So we're kind of planning a season ahead. It's just difficult when you got 100% control of the fanwort to plan anything. You just don't know, but like I said, one thing we do know for sure, permitting notifications. I mean, historically we've been at like the 1250 range. Keep that flat. There's really no reason for us to increase it. Surveys and reporting, we're at like 5,000, but there's probably some flex there, I think. I know historically there's been all the points and the photos and things. I mean, if we kind of keep it to more of a general littoral survey, pre and post, limit some of that to some extent, so that's still extremely effective in getting you the information you want, but not quite as detailed. You could put more of that either in the bank or towards management, right? So call it 5, right? But probably might be a little bit of flex there if we can adjust the scope a little bit, I think was our thought. Sandy, I believe last year we were like $19,000 or $20,000 or something like that. That one, because we got such great control of the fanwort, I mean, we've really focused more towards the milfoil, and I mean, really there isn't a huge problem with lilies in Sandy, I don't think, but the milfoil, we've been managing it with the contact herbicide. Again, it's cost effective, fairly inexpensive, but you're getting season-long control, so it's coming back. It needs to be treated again. So just kind of milfoil management, spot treatment of lilies. We figured like $7,000, so less than half of what 18 was.
Is that for all the ponds?
So that's for Sandy.
Oh, just for
that's
Sandy.
for Sandy.
Okay.
I think we actually had a little bit of sonar if we have to hit that inlet one more
Yeah,
time.
we actually budgeted for an acre in that, so we figured an acre of fanwort control, just because that inlet is a little bit challenging. Flanagan's difficult system to work with, the shallow conditions, and I mean just loaded with lilies. It was loaded with fanwort before we really started this program. But again, excellent control of the fanwort in there. Milfoil, excellent control for the season because we use the contact herbicide, so we know, well, the milfoil is coming back. So again, there, fanwort's a little bit of the wild card, but we did get excellent control. So, we'll kind of wait and see on the fanwort, but again, milfoil, and then kind of scaling back some of the lilies. We figured like $7,000 there. So cost per acre, it's getting about as low as kind of you can get for those size water bodies. And then Pine Meadow really never had a fanwort problem. I don't even think they had any fanwort ever. So we're really just managing the same things we've always managed there, scaling back some of the lilies and really just treating the milfoil again with the contact herbicide. So that one would really just stay the same at the 5. So it puts us kind of in that 26-ish range. But again, there's probably some flex with the surveys, not a ton, but so it's in that range, and then we kind of just wait and see with the fanwort, how do we go? I mean, do we need to budget more sonar for one or the other, the following year?
I will say, just based on experience, Flanagan's Pond has had a well-established fanwort population for many, many years. It's very shallow. As the further away we get from the full lake sonar treatment, the more likely we're going to see mass regrowth. We'll have every year, I think even though we can try to manage it as it comes up, as you get further away from the whole lake treatment, we're going to see a lot more start to grow, and I expect we will, even though we're trying to manage it every year, I think we will at some point get back to the need to have to do another whole lake treatment at Flanagan's Pond. It's just a reality. So I think you kind of need to have that in the back of your mind too.
What would be your estimate of like because I remember when it got treated, it was like a 4-year, I think a 3-year period. where, you know, it was okay, but then it was weird. It was like
think
one
that's
year just.
Usually
like
what you
that.
see,
Like
it's,
crazy.
you know, you start, you know, I'd say once you get 2 to 3 years out, you start seeing more
Mhm.
fan war. As you get to the 4th, 5th year, it starts
Mhm.
coming back like gangbusters,
Yeah.
and by the 5th year, you're almost back to where you were.
Exactly, right.
I think, I hope that, you know, spot managing will help a little bit to extend that
Uh-huh,
out maybe another year or
uh-huh.
two. But,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
Well, also in the past 10 years, we've had like 2 years of treatment, and then 3 years of no treatment, then 3 years of treatment, 2 years of no treatment, and then the last 2 years of treatment. So
Yeah,
we really haven't experimented with the intermediary spot
Consistent.
treatment.
year
Keep it-
spot.
Right.
Yeah.
If you look back even further, I want to say
Manage.
we never were really in the habit of even doing 2 years of treatment. It was like we were doing 1 year of treatment, letting it go for 3 to 5 years, and it
Uh-huh.
looked probably horrible the last 2 years of the time we
Yeah.
didn't treat it. So, and then I think we went a couple cycles where we were treating it almost twice and then letting it go.
Mm, yeah.
And what was our total for lilies, did we say? Across all ponds?
I mean, we didn't really break it out. We kind of,
I broke it
Yeah,
up by
it's-
pond. not
but we
by-
kind of broke it out by pond, kind of the level of effort and product needed, but
So like 7,000 for Sandy, 7,000 for Flanagan, and,
like 5 for Pine Meadow.
I mean, do you think, I mean, just in your experience, could Pine Meadow go without a treatment for a year? I'm just curious.
I mean, you're dealing with variable milfoil it's pretty aggressive there. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
challenge. I mean, if,
Yeah,
you know, assuming one year you decided, okay, we want to put a lot of effort into Pine Meadow and more money into Pine Meadow to try and take a couple of years off, and you went the Priscillacor route, higher cost, but I'd say if you treat it with Priscillacor, yeah, absolutely, you know, but the lilies are still kind of challenging,
yeah.
you know, but,
I don't think we've ever treated Pine Meadow in enough consecutive years to where I'd say we really got to the target balance of water lily growth. I mean, it takes a lot of effort and many consecutive years to really get it to where you want it to be. I don't think we've ever really been able to get to that point on Pine Meadow, just given the variability with there. So I'd really like to see us do Pine Meadow for at least another couple of years, if not 3 years. Or as Joe said, with the lilies, and then maybe we, like Joe said, explore Priscillacor for the milfoil, since we don't have to worry about the fan work.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like Priscillacor might change the whole landscape
Yeah,
of this
in maybe
treatment.
a year or two, yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
But not letting all of this get out ahead of us while we wait,
Right.
seems like a wise idea.
All right.
Yep.
So,
Yes, I had a question. We've had so much rain this fall. Does that anticipate that there might be more runoff into the ponds of organic and whatnot, which would create more growth? And therefore, maybe you shouldn't cut back on your treatment? Is there any relationship between the amount of runoff? We've had a phenomenal amount of rain this fall, whereas we had droughts, you know, let's say in the spring or summer last year. So we're gonna be potentially introducing, all these ponds are low, they're all down gradient from everything. Just a thought, just a question, I don't know if there's any research about that.
Well, I think, you know, rooted plants generally get their nutrients and food from the collected sediment that's in the pond, so they don't necessarily change that much based on variances from year to year. And generally, you know, the loading to a lake of nutrients generally is very similar from year to year. If you think about it, I mean, a lot of the loading comes in, gets washed in from storms, but if you have real frequent storms, everything's kind of already been scoured a little bit from the first storm. So when you have another 3 or 4 storms in a row, the nutrient runoff isn't really as dirty. It's more clean water that's coming in. So, I mean, on average, when you look at things, all that kind of variance kind of balances out generally in terms of its effect on the ponds.
Thank you.
I do have a minor, I don't know if it's an idea, but you were talking about managing the water lilies for habitat. Fish and Wildlife is giving, or was awarding monies for creating habitat, as long as you could hunt and fish and whatever, so. Just tossing that out.
Interesting.
So I guess the flip side to what he was just asking, so the fact that we've had more water, does that potentially, in comparison to the last 2 years, was quite dry, ponds being lower, would we have seen more growth because it was as dry of a year, or? Again, I have no idea, I'm just asking that question.
Yeah, again, like the variances with rain can sometimes have a more rapid effect on like algae growth, stuff that grows continuously all year long and can respond to changes in nutrients pretty rapidly. Where, yeah, again, I don't think it will have much effect on. You know, if we had a sandy pond, no, we haven't really talked about this, and I don't remember it being a problem, but a lot of attention is being paid nowadays to cyanobacteria blooms and the possible health effects of that. And sandy pond is, I don't know if it's ever really had problems with algae blooms or not.
We do in like late August. I think if you go underwater, you see those little, they look like very
Green
filamenty,
mat.
giant
Green
worms
mats.
underwater
Yeah.
or whatever, you know. And I think that's algae, right? And some years we've had what looks like an iridescent green against the shore, right in the top of the shore. But last year we started to have that, and then we had a real cold snap, and it all went away.
Well, so Flanagan's Pond and Pine Meadow Pond are very shallow. They're plant dominated without a doubt. You know, I think the dynamics in Sandy Pond are different because there's a lot more water there. It's deeper. There's not as much plant growth, relatively speaking. So I think the whole kind of biological ecology of that pond is completely different than the other two. I would say, you know, in general, nutrients in Pine Meadow and Flanagan's Pond are going to add to the plant growth, whereas in Sandy Pond you may be more susceptible to kind of algae growth, cyanobacteria potentially, just something to keep in mind.
What would be the, how would you detect that? How would you know that you had a cyano?
So there's a couple different ways to do it. You know, you can do something as simple as monitor water clarity with a Secchi disc every week, and kind of track it on a spreadsheet and watch the trends. And then you can use that when you see clarity maybe start to drop off a little bit. You could take some samples of the algae, have it looked at, analyzed for IDs for algae species and counting how many cells you have. When you know you have a problem, there's some other things you can do that are a little more expensive, but it helps you monitor. Like you can do like the phycocyanin meters. It measures specifically, gives you a measure of if you have blue greens as opposed to good algae, and those are expensive. If you don't really have a huge worry, it's probably not worth buying something like that. But again, something as simple as a Secchi disc, $50, you know, and then have someone from the rec department running the beach go. They may already do it for a while, I know. Go out and do a Secchi disc every couple times a week and keep track of that. And then we can do algae samples. You can collect them and send them to the lab yourself. I mean, I would recommend. I can't tell you how many lakes I've worked on that, you know, it's either starting to see algae or they've had awful algae for years, but now they're all of a sudden aware of how bad it can be, and now they wish they did something many years ago. The best thing you can do really is get at it early. You know, do the monitoring and that early on, even when you aren't that worried about it, or you know it's not that bad. That's the best time to start, really, to do that. And it's something simple like monitoring, but also water clarity, water quality, like phosphorus sampling, general water quality sampling is good.
Yeah, and our DPW has a water.
You know, you had a slide of like all the phosphorus values.
I don't
and
know
whether
how often they do
it's-
it, you know, they test, I think,
4 times.
4 times a year?
Yeah, I forget. Dan is really
Yeah.
right on top of that.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
What would you do for an algae problem if it was a consistent problem?
So there's preventative ways and reactive ways. So if you actually had a bloom and it was an imminent problem, you could use an copper-based or non-copper-based algicides. I mean, that's what we try not to have to do. Ideally, you'd go after the source of the problem, which for algae is generally phosphorus. I mean, in our region here, usually phosphorus is the nutrient that's in the most limited supply, so it tends to be the one that we look to control. So that's watershed management. I know we did a flyer for the town many years ago about protecting the watershed. And then if that will get you part of the way potentially, or it's very protective if you can start doing some of that stuff now is the best time to do it. But there's also methods of nutrient management, and there's obviously watershed BMPs you can use, but there's also techniques we can use in the lake to inactivate phosphorus that's already there. Sometimes deep lakes like Sandy Pond have collected a lot of phosphorus down in the deep hole, and when you get a lot of times the deeper lakes stratify and you get a lower cold bottom layer that gets kind of separated from the air and it doesn't replenish. You may have oxygen loss, and that can actually promote some of the phosphorus coming out of the sediment more so. And then in the fall, when everything kind of gets mixed up again, all that phosphorus comes up, and a lot of lakes like that will get those late fall blooms, September, October, maybe late August blooms. You can investigate that with sampling too.
Yeah, yeah.
Taking bottom samples and DO profiles and whatnot.
Okay. Well, I know we had a fish kill in
Few
Pine
years
Meadow.
ago.
Yeah.
We had one on Sandy
You had
Pond
one?
one year too.
Is that in the spring though? I mean, spring fish kills are usually
Yeah, it was-
spawning stress, but if it was in a different time of the year, that would
Yeah,
be
it
a
was
concern.
March last year, I think.
March.
Yeah, I mean, it was, because I remember it was cold for a really long time, and I think it was just low oxygen levels probably, and deep ice down probably to the bottom.
Yeah, that'll do it.
And then it kind of thawed, and then all of a sudden there's just like massive amounts of like bluegill like around the shore of Pine Meadow, which was so sad to see.
But you will, yeah. I mean, on a shallow pond, you have that. We have that real hard winter, and you
Yeah.
get really deep ice. Doesn't leave a lot of water, and you still have
Yeah.
some decomposition going on. They'll use up the oxygen, and
Yeah,
they
yeah.
die, and then they don't. You don't even see them until the ice melts.
Yeah, yeah.
But you also have the spawning stress. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No.
It's very common in the spring as well, where it's a high activity period for especially bluegills and perch are pretty common. Any kind of crappie. Just a high activity time where it's susceptible to disease and stuff like that. So you'll sometimes get a fish kill during the spawn. There's some stuff on the internet you can search for. Massachusetts might have like a fact sheet on it, but it's pretty common. We get at least a dozen calls every year
Okay.
saying there's a fish kill, and usually it's
Yeah.
just spawning stress.
Okay.
It's usually bluegill, sunfish
Yeah.
that usually you'll see
Yeah.
too.
All right.
All right, thank you for coming.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks for having us. Perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah. Good.
so figure out what we're gonna do and
Yeah.
Yeah, you know how to reach us.
We do.
Questions,
Yeah,
you
we know
know.
where you are.
I'll send that webinar too, in
Yeah,
case
that's
you're
great.
interested. It seems like,
Fabulous.
I like that you guys are all like eager to learn. I love it.
Yeah,
So,
this is the commission.
yeah,
This is it.
it's awesome, so. Awesome, nice meeting you guys.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you for coming out.
Did that help?
I'm sorry?
Did that help? I know. Yeah.
You know, information's great. Information's always great.
So like you need to schedule a
Yeah.
presentation.
Yeah.
Okay, our next item, conservation analysis for the open space residential development at 54, 56, and 64 Littleton Road. In your packets.
Yep, in your packet you should have piece of paper that looks like this. That is the edited version of the narrative of the plan that looks like this. Oh, yes. It was highly amended. I think you missed that part.
Oh, no, I'm certain.
Is there another one you plug in too, or? Okay, it's just this one.
Yeah. Okay. This in the plan. That plan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for tonight.
Right.
Thanks for coming. Good
Sure,
luck.
Dave will talk to you in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll be here.
Okay.
You will?
I will.
So, this past Tuesday, Joanne and I met with the planning board to explain write up on conservation analysis, and we asked them what they would like us to give them in terms of our review. And I think maybe what they said is they want as much information as possible so they can make a decision on what land to preserve. So I went back and I edited Joanne's draft to sort of just kind of list out where the important areas are without trying to say, save this or save that. Just so we let them make the decision.
Mhm.
So this was a quick cut at it.
Yes.
The lawn area is where the houses are
Yeah,
currently?
yeah.
And then did you, you mentioned 2 large isolated trees. Are they marked on the plan?
No. Do you remember where those were, George?
No, not really. I'm not sure it was two. There are, shows several trees existing on those lots.
Yes.
Yeah, I see, along the road.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
So you say there are a few trees.
yeah.
But the planning board.
So that would be the access?
That's just a proposed access, yeah.
Along the proposed access.
I really don't like developers using the open space, the area that's designated for open space for stormwater structures. It just seems, what does the planning board think on that?
There's only one planning board person here.
What is?
I voiced my objection to that when I saw the plan when they brought it to us. I just, mathematically, I thought there was kind of,
It's cheap.
getting one by. I
Yeah.
wouldn't use that word.
Yeah.
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 I
Well, and I put a note on the plan to move it out of the buffer zone.
Yeah.
The answer, I can tell you what the answer was, which is the same answer I've heard ever since I came to a couple of meetings. Well, that's the way they always did it. Well,
Was
that's
what?
always been approved before.
Yeah,
It's always been,
yeah.
we did it before.
Yeah.
It's always been done, and it's sort of, that language, I can't. This is a whole new OSRD concept, so now the rubber has to hit the road.
Yeah, yeah, I think it'd be good to have that, my own view would be, it'd be good to have that, start off on the footing that any such use of open space for necessary stormwater management should be strongly discouraged.
Right, right,
Yep.
right.
not
Yeah.
get them in the habit of getting away with that,
Right.
so.
Yeah.
Biggest change.
Messaging, yeah.
New and improved.
New sheriff in town.
That's right.
I thought it was a pretty simple process to me, because when I think of it, both the open space, I think of it as a place that a machine is not gonna go in and wreck it. To me, that's just logical. Once you put a machine in there, and you're really working within the boundary of you're disturbing it.
Yeah.
Even though you may put it back together again, the chances are of damage or something else happening or a mistake, or more trees being taken down, and anything, any number of things can happen.
Yeah.
So I just thought of it that way, in simple terms.
So has this now been turned in?
No.
Oh, okay.
Keep things moving. I guess the planning board would like to have it for their next meeting. So, if you have any comments by, say, the end of next week,
Yeah.
that should work, right?
Yep, yep.
Well, I think on that score, I'd probably ask for a stronger wording on the open space shouldn't be disturbed for, I mean, the purpose of open space is to keep it.
Okay.
Right, intact open space. Yeah. Without disturbance,
Yeah, it's,
yeah.
still seems like cheating, even that's not a good word,
Mm.
but.
Well, and a lot of times this, as we have seen in other projects, the stormwater ends up on people's lots.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Yeah.
And,
mm-hmm,
and,
mm-hmm.
and if this needs to come out of the buffer zone and out of the open space and ends up on a couple of house lots,
Mm.
maybe that's the way
And
it
then
has to happen.
the objection was that then people, homeowners down the road could decide to undo it. But we have, and the DPW, I think, wants you to help with down the road,
Right.
monitoring the
Exactly.
stormwater. So if it's monitored, it's,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Were you the one who was saying that, was it Dan, that there's a homeowner down on Elizabeth Estates that
Yes,
wants to fill in the stormwater basin on his property?
right, yeah,
Oh,
there's
is
all
that
this
right?
water. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, if he fills it in, he'll end up with a basement full of water.
That's right. That's right.
or somebody else will.
Or somebody else will. Down gradient.
Well,
All right.
so giving planning board a narrative and then giving them an illustration of our narrative seems like it would cover all learning styles.
I think so.
Yep.
Didn't you say so?
Oh, I go with Joanne. She's ahead of me. I'd like to comment, though.
You're like,
Well, sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words, and sometimes the words play better than a picture, so having both
Yeah,
seems like a place to start anyway.
that's right.
Yep.
right, so who do we send our comments to?
Me.
Okay. By the end of next week.
All right. The next item is conservation analysis for open space residential development zoning bylaw, which, as I previously mentioned, we met with the planning board to discuss. The only big pushback we got on our write-up was calling for a public hearing to review the conservation analysis. That came from some of the engineering community and developers. So they didn't want,
The expense.
the expense of an ad and the time involved in notifying the butters and all that.
So wait, say that again. they wanted us to do a public hearing?
Well, in our write-up, we said that the commission would hold a public hearing to review the conservation analysis.
Oh. Got it. They don't want that. Okay, got
They
it.
just want a public meeting
Or what, they want a public meeting, yeah,
rather than a hearing.
yeah.
Well, I was thinking that's okay with me because we're not actually making any official ruling anyways. We're just making
Sug-
recommendations.
Recommendations,
Yeah.
right.
So,
I mean, it's a recommendation to the planning board, correct?
Yes.
Which would come out of their public hearing.
Which comes out of your public hearing, yeah,
Right. Yeah, it's good, we're gonna have a public hearing.
right,
Yeah.
right. So it's,
Subdivision.
Yeah, I
so it's
think
counterintuitive to have two public hearings.
Yeah, I think the intent was at least to make the public aware of it. It
Right.
doesn't have to be a hearing. I'm
Yeah.
comfortable with a meeting, that's
Right.
fine. So that any abutters
Yeah.
can review the agenda. Oh, hey,
And-
that's
Yeah.
going on next door. Yeah,
Right,
no,
right,
we'll
and they
check
know
it
that
out.
the hearing's coming
Yeah.
at a later, yeah, at a later date.
yeah.
And then what about, sort of, there was a discussion about the span of time between our,
Yeah, Mark
Public meeting.
Archibald is trying to come up with sort of a flow chart with, how many days it should all take,
mm-hmm.
since the planning board is under time constraints.
Yeah, it doesn't want it unlimited, and that's reasonable too.
Mhm.
No issue with
Mhm.
that.
Right, and as I explained to Mark, it really is a two-meeting process for us to review the conservation site analysis
Mhm.
and then come up with a recommendation. You can't do
Right,
that
right.
all in one meeting.
Right.
And-
And a walk, and a sidewalk.
Review site walk, recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So he had proposed 3 weeks. I said, well, we meet every 2 weeks, so
Mm-hmm.
that extra week isn't gonna,
Right.
that doesn't get us anywhere.
No.
I'm almost more leaning to it's a 60-day kind of thing, because what happens if we miss a meeting for whatever reason or something happens that, like you said, since we're meeting every other week,
Right.
We'd like to be done sooner than 60, but that's our time limit. We have at least 60 to utilize.
Yeah.
If it's faster, it's
Right.
faster, but
What was it, I think, part of the question that came up, I thought.
Ken, why don't you come up to the table so that you can have the
I
microphone?
remember from looking at Joanne's proposal, or your proposed, the way to handle the analysis was, it was important to me that it was a different sequence than I was familiar with, in that that's gonna go first before even a preliminary, the preliminary plan.
Right.
Now, they can skip the preliminary plan if they want. They can go right to, they're allowed, an applicant's allowed to go right to subdivision. They don't have to have a preliminary plan. So you're actually gonna be stuck in a couple of different spots. If they're gonna go right to subdivision, they're gonna have to come to you guys before to get the conservation analysis done before they submit the subdivision drawings. If they go to a preliminary plan, most likely they'll come before that. So it's really your sequence that's first, which is a little unusual for what a planning sequence normally is. It's normally go to the planning board, go to conservation at the same time, more or less.
Yeah.
And then as it filters through the system, they kind of match up at the end.
Right, the design
This
process
is
on this is
totally
just.
different,
is
exactly. And
completely
she pointed
different.
that out, you
Yeah.
guys pointed it out.
Mhm.
So I think they're probably, to minimize their cost at the preliminary stage, if they get some kind of a clear conservation analysis, it's gonna help them, lay the project out. That's the intent, I believe. Versus go put the roads in, go put the lots in, and then do the conservation later, and, whatever we can squeeze in, we'll squeeze in. But you're supposed to think in a different mindset first.
Mhm.
Where's the conservation? How do we save it? And then go through the steps, as you guys pointed out. So I don't know how, well, I can't speak for Mark Ashambo, but it would be pretty hard to pin you guys down to an exact number of days or weeks, because you got the winter. What you have to do is, what if you have a blizzard, you can't do a sidewalk?
and that's what I'm
There's
getting
so
at,
many
right? You need at least
characteristics,
a
yeah, you need
certain
a,
duration
some
of
time to
time.
think about it.
And,
And I guess
we'll
the important
understand
thing
that
in
time
the
is of
end
the
is
essence
that
always.
we have that, and we get it out to people. I guess that's the point, right? So that at least they know, look, you have to expect the Conservation Commission to take, maybe up to 60 days, or no longer than 60 days, and that's the first step.
Right.
Then you can do your I'm sure it seems to be what happens in the real world is the engineers are coming in and they're talking to you guys along the way anyway. They're saying, where's the status and so forth.
Oh, I know.
They
And
can
then-
kind of tweak it. It's not like they're hanging out there in limbo. They're getting feedback as the process is going along.
And they're either listening or they're not.
Right, well, either way, but.
Or not?
I thought it was a big education for me to learn this sequence, because it's gonna be the way it goes, it's gonna be very important.
Yeah.
Well, and having this guidance document that we've been working on as a tool for the
Right.
planning board, really, for you guys to educate the engineers to say, we didn't intend this to be a regulation.
I understand that,
It's
right?
just an educational tool.
Right, but you understand that the graphic that you put in there has got no relationship to what's gonna really happen in there. That graphic shows like 17 lots that are like 5 acres each or something.
Yeah, it's just.
People are gonna end up, if they had that much land, they'd put 150 acres in it.
Right.
150 units in.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
But, to show something.
The idea is to use your head and
Yeah.
let's work together and get
Right.
a nice development.
Yeah, we know Ayer is not gonna look like this, but.
It could. No.
Can we go 5 acres without hitting water?
I don't think so.
There's 2 acre zoning in Groton. Everywhere you go, it's 2 acre zoning, doesn't matter where you are.
Hmm.
That's a big difference. That's all I had. Thank you very much.
Sure.
So what's the next step on that, or are we done with that, or?
I think we're pretty much done. It's in the hands of the planning board now.
Yeah, so I can, I should edit Mark's last edits to say 60 days, and we need a site walk.
60 calendar days, as opposed to working, just so that we are clear that we're talking basically a 2-month duration that
Yep.
we need.
Maximum.
Right.
Yep.
Or up to 60 calendar
Up to,
days,
yeah.
something like that.
Yep.
Now, the only thing you have to think about that, now that we just said that, the preliminary plan has a statutory time limit to act on it. And
Well, then-
so that have to be a fait accompli with no exception, that this has to be done before the preliminary plan is put in.
Yeah, well, that's
Because
the
if the
idea.
preliminary plan goes in, which they're entitled to do, it's only a 45-day, I think,
Yeah.
up or down or conditions on a preliminary plan. It's much longer on a formal plan,
Hmm.
but a preliminary plan is quick.
But
So,
you can request that they grant a
right, you can, but
extension.
I've been reviewing, because we're going to be revising our bylaw, hopefully.
excellent.
And in reviewing that, like, not that we're gonna go by everything in the MACC model, but I think in application, it seems like the statutory time clock starts when an application or whatever is complete.
It's fully complete and approved.
Right, so
Correct. Not just submitted.
couldn't the planning board theoretically say that a preliminary plan application is not complete without the conservation
Mhm.
analysis?
Absolutely.
So.
You can say anything you want, whether it's legal or not. It's another question.
But,
Well, based
That's-
on the new bylaw,
Seems
Yeah,
like a
it
great
is
suggestion. Seems like a great suggestion.
right?
Bylaw supports it.
Yeah.
well, although just because it's in a bylaw doesn't necessarily, you were looking at another town's
Mhm.
bylaw and saying it's a recipe to get arrested. So some things could have, I mean, not everything is set in permanent law by virtue of being in a bylaw that's been
Yeah.
approved by a town.
Yeah.
It can be challenged down the road, anything in a court.
Right, right.
Well, I can
Should we-
run that by Mark and just ask him if,
If 60 days is acceptable. Then
Well,
maybe it has
if
to go in
it's-
line with the 45, then maybe we have to do 45.
right, but I was thinking more if the preliminary plan is not complete until
Till-
the conservation
Great question. Awesome.
analysis is received.
It's an awesome question.
Yep, I will ask him.
Yeah.
It's not just the plan, it's the application. You're referring to the actual application date, the approved application date.
Yeah, like,
It's a complete application when everything that's required in the application
Right.
is submitted with the
yeah,
application.
like you could submit your preliminary plan, but that preliminary plan has to include the
Include.
conservation analysis to be a
Mhm.
complete submission.
Yeah, yeah.
Has to include conservation analysis that has already been to the Conservation
Yeah.
Commission.
Yeah, or the conservation analysis and recommendations from,
There you go.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Mm.
basically. Once our process is done, then they can start to count
Yeah.
down under 45 days.
Right.
Great. I will ask.
Okay. Anything else? All right.
Cool.
Next item, request for certificate of compliance.
I'll see you later. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
See ya.
Tell me.
Lot 3, Orion Park Drive.
Well, I did squeeze through the unlocked gate barely. Had a nice walk in the woods and saw many different kinds of fences, barbed wire fences, rectangular mesh fences, fences made out of pallets. I think those were the only 3 kinds of fences that I saw. None of them had conservation restriction signs on them anywhere. So I called the engineer, I left the engineer voicemail, I sent him an email saying, see, somebody's got to give me some guidance here as to which one of these fences I'm supposed to be looking at and where are the signs. And that was days ago and I haven't heard back from anybody.
Okay.
So I think if I don't hear back from him, I may call the owner directly. And so I can't recommend that we issue that because I haven't been able to confirm that that work was done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why it was like, you shouldn't take that off the agenda, because that's,
Yes.
yeah, that
Yep.
should be in there. Maybe they should meet you there, somebody should meet you there too.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's gonna get
Yeah.
harder and harder to squeeze through that fence. It's a big livestock gate that's sunk in the ground, so you can't actually swing it open, but you can now push the top corner back, so you get this V-shaped place you can
Climb over.
kind of squeeze through.
Mm.
But snow and ice is gonna make it so that I can't even do that. And the rest of it's fenced with barbed wire from the parking lot.
Mm.
So that's where that stands.
Okay. Next item, discussion Kohler Place conservation restriction.
So we have the accepted draft from, as far as the state is concerned, this is the draft that they would approve. I think I've read through it. I've talked to AJ about taking us on a site walk, just to make sure all his conservation restriction signs are up, and so we all know where it is. He did go ahead at his own expense and had the baseline documentation done,
Good.
which will give us a basis for doing the stewardship monitoring going forward, except we don't really have the capacity to do that. Carly has said that if I can get her a couple of estimates for hiring somebody to do the monitoring going forward, that she would find the budget for that. But I do think it would be a good thing for us all to just have AJ walk us around.
Yeah.
We can see his dock. and the path to the dock.
Yeah.
So that's where that stands. I guess we have to approve this, the selectmen have to approve it. And then it needs to be recorded.
Every town council should look at it.
Yes. Yep. That might be a good place to start, is
Yeah.
having town council look at it.
Yeah. The one thing I was looking for was just on page 6 to 7 is the access to the Sandy Pond shoreline. Did you see that?
No.
He wants to do now a 5-foot wide path
So where do you,
from lot 1, which is AJ's house. Page,
6 of
I don't even think I have it.
was in that green folder.
The green
Look in the-
folder? Oh, here it is.
Yeah, the clearing, marking, and maintaining of a path from lot 1 to Sandy Pond. 5-foot wide path, that's a fair amount of, we never,
Yeah.
I mean, and that would have to be a notice of intent through us to do that,
Right.
wouldn't it?
Right.
If you were, but that needs to be made clear.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next item is, on that is, grantor may use any equipment necessary, including motorized equipment, for the construction and maintenance of the dock. So that would be motorized equipment going through the CR
Mm.
and some wetlands in between,
Mm. Mm.
so.
Mm-hmm.
um,
He did tell me he doesn't take his dock in and out.
Nope,
It's
It-
in and it just stays in.
it's supposed to be, the dock license is for it to be removed, but I keep hoping the ice will teach a lesson, but that one I haven't felt like stirring up.
Mm.
You don't have dock enforcement authority.
Yeah.
Right.
Because initially, a couple of years ago, the discussions of access to the pond was just going to be a informal path.
Yeah.
So that's a difference. That's my comment.
Okay.
Well, I mean, in the column here, prohibited acts and uses, I mean,
What
those
page
are
are you
all
on?
Xed out 3.
What one?
Page 3,
Okay.
right? So, I mean, non-emergency motorized vehicles is prohibited. Cutting or removing native vegetation is prohibited.
Oh, you're in the baseline documentation document.
Yeah,
Wait, where's that?
oh,
That's this.
that's this,
The next thing.
yeah.
Oh, right.
I'm sorry, yeah, the baseline. Temporary or permanent structures on, above, or under the premises is prohibited.
So it's interesting, it says non-emergency motorized vehicles are prohibited, and yet in the restriction itself, it says that motorized vehicles are allowed to service the dock. Yeah.
So there's a conflict of,
Yeah. All right, well,
So we should probably comment before it goes to town council.
yeah, yep. Well, if you all want to get me your
yeah, comments
Yeah.
by when?
End of next week,
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just This is not
Meeting.
urgent.
Yeah.
By next meeting, really.
Yeah.
If we were talking to Natural Heritage about the use of clipper, could a secondary question be, because Natural Heritage was the one that required the CR, right? And just about that sort of change in if they have any thoughts on that change in that little contradiction, but that change in usage going through their CR,
Yeah, well, and it's so this is from
maybe
Fish and Wildlife.
underscore it.
Yep. Yes, put that on the list.
I do remember like a year or so ago, when last time we looked at it, that had been, something like that had been slipped in, and I think AJ said, the lawyer said that he was just using something from some other thing, and he hadn't even noticed that, but.
Yeah, great. All right, well,
My thought.
I will take a careful read of it too and see.
Oh. Okay.
All right. Next item, discussion, wetlands protection bylaw.
So. So basically, I'm assuming we're starting from scratch, particularly because Mark and John weren't. Mark was there, but not on the commission. So I have prepared, assuming we're starting from scratch. And
Wow, Jess. Thank you.
And-
Wow.
And if you look inside, because one of the things that came up when we had some of the public comments was, well, was there a way to show what's being changed from what we currently have to?
Yep.
So I went through, we have all three of the main documents right now. The Wetland Protection Act, our bylaw, and the MACC model. And then I went through, and this is not designed to be 100% correct, so there could be errors in here. But in all of them, they have these general lists, like, okay, that are redundant, but there's slight differences in the list. So I charted out a lot of this stuff, so you can compare.
Okay.
Like the regulated activities, MACC suggests adding on build upon, degrade, discharge into. So just to get a sense of both what we have to keep, we can't go less than, that's in the Wetland Protection Act. What's in our bylaw, which is really no different from the Wetland Protection Act,
Right,
but is
right.
missing a bunch of things
Right,
too.
right.
And then what MACC would suggest. And then I left a blank column so we can figure out what do we want to, things we need to keep, but what do we want to add or not add or whatever. So that's it.
Okay.
So there's that, there's the difference in listings of the subject lands, protected resource areas. And when I did that one, I sort of did you can see what's in the act, obviously we didn't have a need for dunes and stuff like that, but tidal action, coastal flow, but MACC adds in more things, some of which are interesting, especially the ones we noted before, vernal pools, and then protection for intermittent rivers, streams, brooks, and creeks. And on the back of that sheet, I just did I also redid the MACC one on the back, just as they have it. So you can see exactly how they listed it, because like where I have ponds and lakes under the MACC column is standalone. That's because they didn't put it as, so basically my suggestion is we all sort of review all this and then have a more thorough discussion anon down the road. But thinking of changing some of the language, like the Wetland Protection Act, and we reiterate, is the sort of confusing language of anything bordering on any estuary, creek, river, stream, pond, or land under. And MACC does sort of simplify some of that in certain ways. But so just to pay attention to those differences.
Right.
And then the values that are cited in the Act, as well as our bylaw versus MACC, to think, what do we want to keep, what do we, well, again, we have to keep everything that's in the Act. And then do we want to add in some of this, or are there other things we want to add in? Identified public services that they all list. Strangely, the Wetland Protection Act included sewer systems. Our bylaw dropped that, and the MACC dropped that, but when we were discussing it, I think George was the one who talked about putting sewerage back in, and also stormwater management structures. So I'm not sure why sewer got dropped out of the other two. I was wondering if there was a reason for that, but clearly sewers are public services, and definitely if there's a problem, they need to be maintained.
Right.
So then I just went through general bylaw subjects. I structured this by going by what, if you don't want to read through all of the bylaws in arduous detail, this is like a skeleton version in order of the Wetland Protection Act. And then I sort of indicate what's in the other two that may overlap. But you can then see what things are suggested, or what things are not replicated in the MACC version. Or rather, I should say, this one shows you everything where there's overlap between all three. Okay?
Yeah.
The next one, which is said the MACC template outline, shows you by the MACC's outline, you can see the things that they touch on that are in both the Act or our bylaw. And then you can see by the blanks on the right column, everything that they're adding in that isn't in ours. So that's useful to look at to see what is it of their suggestions that we might find useful, and what is it we might not find useful and we can ignore.
Okay.
But like the section on attributing the authority of the bylaw to local bylaw to home rule authority is an important addition. And at any rate, so that's just starting off as a basis.
Wow.
Nice.
Nicely
done.
Yeah, because, and I remember we asked our former agent to just think about a comparison of, well, what, because I know, do you remember some people had issues about, the clause about entering onto private property?
Yeah.
That's already in the Act itself.
Right.
I think the MACC version makes a bit more reference to, constitutional rights of privacy and all that.
Yeah.
But, so we did have a long discussion, I think, at some point about that, but it's in the Act itself, so we're not actually adding, that's not adding more per se. Than already is state law.
Yeah.
So this is just to give a sense of, what we're doing.
Yeah.
And the MACC version does have a whole section on buffer zones, which I thought was great. It's an important, which isn't covered by the Act, but that to treat buffer zones as resource areas in and of themselves because of their close proximity, obviously, to the resource area. So I was thinking, when I just wanted to go through all that so you can go home and read everything tonight. So the next questions are like how to proceed. And so how would you all like to proceed? Because obviously, one of the things, I think the last time we did it, writing as a group is
It's hard.
hard and not
Difficult.
very productive.
Mm.
So if George is putting me sort of as the guiding light here, my preference would be that, we all digest and then
Right.
make comments, add in comments on the sheets in that
Yeah,
column
yeah.
and get them back to me. And then I can try and pull everything together. Because I think it works better to have somebody doing the central writing based on everybody's input and then people editing and changing and all that, rather than everybody trying to write at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the second question would be how we want to do a time frame on this, and at what points. So because last time we did have it. I mean, all our meetings are open to the public, but we were able to get something into, I think either the census mailing or something like that. That here are our meetings that we're going to be discussing this at.
Right.
So that's something to think about.
Should we air for, is springtime too soon?
Springtown meeting?
Springtown meeting?
Yeah, way too soon.
Is that way- that's
We've been
way
asked
too
to
soon?
do this for fall town meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause I
for
think
fall.
zoning's
Okay.
probably going to be doing some more at spring.
Yes.
Okay.
So we do have
Okay.
time, but
Yeah.
what I'd say would be just keep it as a discussion item on our agendas for now and just,
Well, we should allot time.
What's the drop dead for getting it into the fall town meeting? Though?
I
If we
need.
work kind of backwards from
We
that.
need to.
I need
Yeah.
to, I need to find that out.
Yeah.
It's quite a bit of lead time, actually, because they have to publish the warrant, and
Mhm.
this needs to be completely
yeah,
Yeah.
ready to go well before that.
Well, before that, yeah.
right. And I've thought that we probably should have a couple advertised public hearings
Mm-hmm.
officially, but I don't know if that's as helpful when we're still in the writing stage.
No, I think it's more at the end.
People are welcome to come and
Yeah.
make comments, but in terms of, it'd be better, I don't know, what, you came at this before as a member of the residential public. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think how you've laid it out is really great, and I think what'll be key is then putting together those PowerPoints that identify, as you said,
Yeah,
this is already in the law. This is what we're supposed to follow.
right,
What we're looking to add is this and provides additional protection because of these points. And I think that's
Right.
what the town's going to want to see. I know I'd want to see that. Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
To again, it was an education process to me personally because I didn't know what the act was
Yeah.
supposed to be
Right, cover.
providing and what it was covering, right?
Yeah.
I know we had discussion
Yeah.
when I was sitting over there. I
Yeah.
said, well, does it say we have to abide exactly by what's already there, or can we make it less?
Yeah.
Kind of looked at me like, what the hell are you talking about?
I remember that.
Oh, yeah. It's like, so now I understand, so.
Just by that look.
My hope would be we could, by the time we got to some public hearings and we had a document that we were pretty content with, that then we could be circulating, something similar to one of my lengthy things, the comparison document of, something that, okay, here's the act and our bylaw, here are the changes. Ignoring the MACC, because maybe some of those would be in it, but here's
Right.
everything we're changing, adding, or embellishing or making stricter or not.
Right,
So that would
right.
be really clear for people to look
Right.
at.
Well, I think also, our bylaw is like one page, right? It's,
Yeah.
I think it's, I think our new bylaw would be, it's more inclusive, it's kind of a drummed down version of right?
Wait, what?
the mass,
The Wetlands Protection
Wetlands
Act.
Protection Act. I was trying to think of the
Section
MGL,
40, yeah.
right, 131.
Section 40.
Section 40.
Yeah.
So that people don't have to go read, you know, a
Yeah.
booklet that's that thick,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but well, as you're saying, we don't rewrite the whole thing
No.
and add additional verbiage. We just have a bylaw that says, in addition, right, kind of like the order of conditions, right? It's like, in addition to that, our town requires this also.
Exactly,
Okay.
right, right,
Yeah.
right.
Although the
Right.
MACC bylaw and a lot of other towns, they do replicate a lot of the stuff in this, in the act. Like, because
Yeah.
that's why you have those repetition of those lists. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it
But-
may need to be in
Right,
certain
right.
instances to make the
Right.
language clear as to what
Right.
you're saying. So, I
Right.
mean, yeah, maybe you're pulling that part out and say,
Yeah.
in this section, we've added in this, or would like to see A, B, and C, and, you know, and then
Right.
something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Right, but again, it's not the full rewriting of the whole thing with added
Right.
language.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
defining it, and
Yeah.
then,
Putting clarity around
Yeah.
ambiguous stuff, at least from our
right,
perspective.
right. I think, because I remember a few people being really confused about, well, does that mean I can't go into my backyard and, you know, cut down some bushes?
That was me.
Was that you?
I remember asking the administrator, I'm like, so I can't do that? Yes or no?
Like, you can do that if you really want to, but it's.
One of the things the state does is, I mean, they have, their regulations are like this, a big thing. And then one of the sections is now recognize limited projects. Yeah,
The regulations.
yeah,
Yeah.
limited projects
Right,
that, you know, don't require
Yeah.
oversight. And one of the values of updating our bylaw, local bylaw, is it would also give us the permission or the authorization to come up with regulations
Mm-hmm,
of our own.
mm-hmm.
And in those regulations, there, we can also then specify very clearly, I would think, limited projects that, you know, if you're digging up a plant in your yard and you're replacing it with something else that day and you're not leaving a huge pile of soil for 2 weeks right next to a wetland system, you know, if it's all going to be re-mulched by that afternoon, you don't have to come before us, or something, you know, common sense stuff like that.
But honestly, it's clarity around things like that that I know people would be looking for.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
I mean, let's think
Yeah.
about the lady that came here and we were telling her, you know, stop moving the stones and put them next to the water, you know, the edge of
Yeah.
the water.
Right.
It's kind of like,
Yeah.
I would not have thought that that was an issue.
Yeah, and I would think regulations would
Yeah.
be also where we could address some things about how people behave on the sides of the ponds
Mm-hmm.
in terms of, because it's always a question from people of, you know, what if, you know, can I pull up my weeds on my beach that weren't there a year ago, but now they're coming in, what can they do?
Right,
Which, to be fair, I would say also, what can I do, what can you do?
right, right.
What can you do?
Right, right, right.
But, you know, that's a different process, but that's one of the things that we wanted to get out of this, was the ability to write regulations. Now, here's a thing that Brian had dissed me on before, but the MACC version says if people have an issue with, I think, regulations, they can take it to Superior Court. And I know back when the last time the bylaw was attempted, 2005, one of the comments from people was, wow, we're giving all this enhanced power to the Conservation Commission, and they're appointed, they're not elected, there's no check and balance on them in that sense. And I was thinking, you know, can we write in, and this would be a town council question, a provision that if we come up with regulations and if there's could those be challenged in town meeting by like a 2/3 vote or something like that, if there's a real question about a regulation that we wrote?
But it's gonna be voted on anyway, right?
No, regulations don't.
don't
The
have to
bylaw
go
gets
before.
voted
Oh,
on.
sorry.
It
Right,
authorizes us to write
Right,
regulations.
it authorizes us to.
But I was
right,
thinking, you know,
Right,
to answer that concern that I
Mhm.
think would be on the part of a lot of people would be, is there an easier way to check and balance
Mm-hmm.
Conservation Commission regulations from appointed people
Mm-hmm.
than having to go through hiring a lawyer and going to
Mhm.
Superior Court?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that would be one thing I would be thinking of. What do you think,
Mhm.
George?
Yeah, I'm thinking regulations are more sort of administrative on how we, administer the law and setting restrictions.
Mm. I remember someone, I can't remember who it was, coming and, saying when we were writing the first time, saying that, we don't want to go to the extreme in writing regulations. We want to be, take what is in the MACC guideline, right? And then, because that's going to be what's kind of upheld in court. And typically, probably, 99% of the time that's upheld in court instead of something that is, way extreme,
Right.
right?
Well, it's something to think on. What I'd like to do next on my little list is sort of go through some of the comments that came up last time we were
Mm.
rewriting it, and then and some of the revisions we made at that point, and then comments made to it, and then also just pick out some tidbits from other bylaws.
Yeah.
And also maybe just go through and make a separate list of what are some of the just bullet points of what other towns do in their regulations.
Mhm.
Because one question would be
Mhm.
like if we wanted to establish a no disturb zone or a no, setbacks or
Mhm.
no build, no disturb or
Mhm.
whatever. Is that something we do in the bylaw or in regulations?
Only regulations.
Right, so that's then not as administrative, that is more restrictive.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and then you want to have, because you don't want to have a bylaw so overloaded with detail.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can add more nuance in regulations if you're talking about no build or no disturb zone within
Mm.
25 feet. Is that
Mm-hmm.
for anybody's 25 feet, or is that like in previously undisturbed 25 feet
Right.
versus already disturbed? It's a
Right.
different,
Right.
so
Yeah, defining, yeah,
if you're thinking of regulations in that
yeah.
vein, then I think it'd be easier to sell it if we also had a way of checking and balancing on the part of citizens or residents who wanted to challenge something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As we live in a time when the idea of checks and balances in government is an issue.
So I
Needs to be
guess
modeled.
what I would caution
Yes.
there though is that it's great that you want to provide that ability for people to challenge that and
Yeah.
argue it. But at the same time, if we're making the bylaw that restrictive, that people will need that ability to challenge, then I have a concern that we're going too far.
No, but see, that would be the thing, is the bylaw itself wouldn't be that restrictive. This would be, those more detailed things would be taken up in regulations. And that's the thing I want the checks and balances on. Or an easier
Right.
road for
Well, I
And
think the purpose for,
Yeah.
towns.
Think about
in
it.
the past, towns
Yeah.
have written their bylaws to be more, more concrete, like to be more specific, right? So that
Right.
it adds, there's terms and checks and balances, like, it's not like some arbitrary sentence in the bylaw that suggests this, right? It's like, well, what does
Right.
that really mean?
Exactly.
Right. Can I
That's what I'm
really-
saying. Let's get rid of
right.
the ambiguity that
Yeah.
we've seen. And
Right.
again, I think what
Yeah.
we had talked about in the past was where we felt the town or the Conservation Commission has been taken advantage of because of that ambiguity, right? It's trying to clear those things up. such
Right.
that we can
Right,
be more
right, right.
black
So-
and white. This
so
is
let's-
what
so
this
let's-
means.
So let's give an example. So, you know, up at Pingree Hill, right, the new developments, there are foundations going in, you know, like 10 feet from, you know, the flagging, right? So now you have clearing up to the flag, you know, almost to the flag, well, really up to the flagging, right? Is that what the bylaw, you know, the master bylaw really had in mind, you know? I don't think so, right? You know, the border has, I think for wildlife corridors, for sort of environmental protection, you know, water protection, that border should be much wider, right? So then you could put in the reg, you know, like just said, like a no touch of, you know, 50 feet, right? You can't, right? So then you can't do anything 50 feet from
Like in the River
flagging.
Protection Act, we have the inner riparian and the outer riparian.
Yeah,
So the inner riparian is more restrictive,
right.
and yet.
And the outer riparian
The outer
is
riparian.
less
So
restrictive.
if we just said, you know, first 25 feet, you know, we didn't have to say no build, but
Yeah,
somehow make it just more restrictive.
right. And then yeah, right. So,
Yeah.
and then the next 25 feet is, you know, within.
You could put a
You
shed
can put
on
a
the- or
yeah,
something,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
and then you could build
Well, let's talk about it, right, let's
Yeah.
discuss
Yeah,
that,
kind
what
of
you're gonna
a-
do,
a
right,
phased
right,
gradient
Yeah.
of activity.
right,
Yeah.
right,
Mm.
right.
So at any rate,
Yeah, I mean, it's just
Yeah.
putting more definitive sort of language to
Mhm.
what, you know.
and I was, one of the things I was thinking of down the road is like looking at Long Pond, which Stratton Hill started the infrastructure on the loop road, but we have this pond report that talks about the unusually pristine condition of Long Pond
Mm,
on whatever direction side that is.
yeah,
West. And back when it was going to go forward before, there was a little bit more activity closer to the shore, at least in one area of that development.
mhm,
But it would be, with the new bylaw, I mean, it'd be nice to allow whatever development eventually goes on there, but protect that pond more, because it's in such ideal pristine condition
Mm.
still. How can we, you
mhm,
know, take land that's not currently disturbed and have a stricter buffer zone there versus, you know,
The town planner is looking at developing what he's calling the Petapawag Overlay District,
yeah.
which would be up there.
Right.
And I don't know that he's actually gotten far enough to,
I emailed him after a Board of Selectmen meeting where he was mentioning that, that when he gets to working on that more, could he come talk with us? Because maybe we would have some input.
yeah,
Right.
And I've
Yeah.
asked him too, and I think he's been sidelined by the recreational marijuana bylaw.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is, he is at least thinking about
Mhm.
yeah,
some
yeah,
Yeah, I think
additional.
right,
I think it's on back burner next to the recreational marijuana and the zoning still.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but,
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's so much bedrock and granite up in that area and, you know, disturbing, and we already know, right? The previous disturbance, you know, created a mess for everybody down gradient, right? In terms of,
where?
you know, like all the water running off of the hill.
Oh, Stratton Hill?
Yeah, Stratton
Yeah.
Hill.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's all I wanted to hand out today, and then wondering if like is in 2 weeks or 4 weeks, people have gone through and sort of marked in their little columns what they like and what they don't like, or and then anything else they think they'd add. And in between, I'll go through and circulate other things.
And then are you gonna start, I mean, maybe go by section, start writing, or?
Well, I mean, let's see what I get with feedback from y'all first, and then, because I don't think well, yeah. Probably breaking into a section thing like the MACC one would be a good, clearer
Yeah.
read for people.
Yep, yep.
Not necessarily all those categories, but
Mhm.
But in any case, go through, do the comparison and comment. And then I can try and pull things together and do a next draft.
Mhm.
Does that sound?
Okay.
Yep.
At some point, we want to have separate meetings, just working sessions.
Yeah.
Keeping a calendar too.
Yeah.
I'll find out what the deadlines are for town meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the ultimate plan is to come up with something like the MACC, something like this,
Well,
but
yeah, I mean, what we
but-
started with before was just editing the MACC document.
Then we go from like section to section, right? And everybody
Yeah,
had a
and
section
then it
and,
would- No,
I
it
can't
was,
remember
yeah,
what we did.
I've got notes still, but somewhere.
Want me to send you mine? Comments?
Well,
I'm sure I still have.
yeah. But what I wanted to, and just like particularly for you two starting this new, was just here's the beginning bases,
Yep.
and then here's how you can compare the three, and then proceed from there. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 2 weeks.
We got a lot of 2-week deadlines. We're all good with this? Yes? So for next meeting, we'll have, we'll be able to get the, kind of like the drop dead date when we need to have it done.
Oh,
Yep,
yeah.
yep,
I'll-
I'll email that out to you all as soon as I.
Read the Kohler
Which-
Place.
Yep,
Read that, yep. And this, okay, we got 3 things.
right, the,
The open space.
Oh, yeah.
Open space.
That's next
OSRD,
week.
Kohler Place,
Do
and,
this right after the Super Bowl. Actually, these will be due before the Super Bowl, won't they?
Well, we could do,
During the Super Bowl.
yeah. Yeah, we could have a special meeting like then, Sunday night. Wouldn't be okay. Well, we could do,
Half an hour
putting
during
it-
halftime. right?
yeah, we could do putting it on our agenda for 4 weeks. That'd be okay.
4 weeks.
And then in the meantime, I can circulate little other things I find.
Our second meeting. We can do, go back to the second meeting being for internal.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Okay, so
Yeah.
continue this 4 weeks.
Okay. Conservation Office updates.
Updates, we have updates. Let's find our updates. So, I went out in the rain with my complete waterproof kit this morning to
Oh, my
Wilkesville
gosh.
cleanup site before the sky opened. And Stefan, the LSP for Omni, was kind enough to hand me these, which are plans showing the grid layout of the replication cells. So this is the stormwater outfall behind the house on Washington Street. The
East and west, right?
yeah. And this one, any cell marked in green or colored in green has been replicated
No kidding.
as of Saturday. Yep.
Wow.
You did a lot.
Yep. They're still waiting for some data to come back on the pink cells down here before they do those.
What sort of data are they waiting for?
They do a field sampling method called headspace screening. So they take a mason jar basically and scoop up some water from where they've removed soil,
Yeah.
and the headspace between the water and the top of the jar with the lid on will have any volatile organic compounds from oil, say,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
in the air, and they've got a little field meter that they can test
Okay.
that headspace. So if they get a result on that field test, they then take more samples in that cell and send them to the lab.
So then once the headspace test's fine, then they'll go in and they continue the replication then?
Well, they wait to see if the lab test is fine.
Oh, okay. I see.
Actually.
Yeah, okay.
And there's a 5 or 7 day turnaround, and there's also a 48-hour turnaround, and they've been doing the 48-hour turnaround just to get through this. So
What's the lab? Who is the lab?
I don't know I don't know which lab they're using. Paul had some concerns earlier on that each cell gets sampled in multiple locations, and then they aggregate that data. So if there's a positive, really high reading in one corner, that it could get diluted by lower readings in the other parts of the cell. So DEP got called on that, and DEP was okay with it, and so they have been proceeding through here. Now, if you will recall, there were some pumps set up in the basin here,
Big and little.
a 2-inch, a 3-inch, and a 6-inch. And you'll recall the weather we had over the weekend. Do you think those pumps are working in this rainstorm we had today? They're not. Everything froze solid. So
When did it freeze solid?
when it was 0
Yeah.
over the
And it
weekend.
didn't thaw, yep, it didn't thaw.
Nope. So a couple weeks ago, this is what it looked like out there.
Is that replicate? Ooh, that's replicated.
This is what it looked like on Saturday. Stefan sent me a whole series of these pictures.
Wow.
Today.
Brace
Oh
yourself.
my God, so the plants, they got the
Yeah,
root systems are gonna,
yeah. They're dormant. They're fine. They're
Because
just
it's-
gonna hang out and wait till spring.
wow.
Yeah. I couldn't take a bad enough picture of what it looked like out there today, because every single drop of rain that's coming out of that outfall is coming down through that replicated area. This comes pretty close to being bad.
What?
This is all
Chunks of ice?
Yes.
Funny, yeah.
That's all,
Yes. Ice. This is all ice.
What's on the yellow thing? Is that ice?
Ice.
Really?
Yep.
Dirty ice, huh?
Yep. It is a muddy, muddy mess
Oh my
out there.
God.
And
Is it clean, muddy, dirty ice?
What's
Versus
muddy?
or-
Well, we don't.
What?
Really muddy.
Ice is
We don't
typically
know.
not black.
We actually don't know. We don't know.
So the water now is not going through the
Pumps.
Yeah,
pumps,
It's just going right
and it's
down
going
through
right
the wetland
through
system.
the wetland system.
So it's possible that after all that replication was done on Saturday, that it froze solid before or right after it snowed.
Before
And-
getting washed away.
And the water's just kind of skating along over the top.
Oh.
Poor Tim, the project manager out there, I thought he was going to have a stroke
Oh,
today.
man.
He was just, He'd been out there since 4:30 trying to figure out what to do. The basin at the stormwater outfall
So,
looked like Niagara Falls. The water is just coming over the top of it.
so I thought that they agreed to, like, before every storm event, they were
Mhm.
gonna like send somebody there.
Oh, and they have been, but
Check on, make sure pumps were working
Right.
and,
yeah, that's why he was out there
That's
at
why he was-
4:30
that's
this
why he
morning,
was there.
ahead of the rain, and discovered that everything was frozen solid.
oh man.
Yep. And he, at 9 o'clock this morning, he did not know what he was going to do. He said, well, I'm gonna get out of your hair and let you figure it out. So I don't know.
It's a little shocking to think that they wouldn't think that these things would freeze up.
Well, they were supposed to be done before winter.
That's right. They were supposed to be done in
For
I know,
Christmas.
but it's winter.
September. I know. Yeah. Oh. So, yep. There we have that.
What's the Einstein quote? We make plans and God laughs, or something like that.
Well, I did tell them as I was walking away, Mother Nature always wins.
It's the law of entropy,
Yeah. So. that-
disorder, right?
Yeah. Maximum randomness.
Yeah,
Here we go.
it's the law of disorder.
Yeah, yeah. Kim Becker is coming in tomorrow morning to finalize our sign design.
Mhm.
And George had sent me these signs that she had done before, so I had this one. But I just wanted you to see that we do sort of have a design theme going here.
Mhm.
And one of the master plan, implementation plan, resources,
Mhm.
goals
Mhm.
is consistent wayfinding.
Mhm.
And we're really well on our way to having kind of the Air Conservation Commission brand wayfinding sign. So I know last time we all talked about this, you guys expressed interest in the cattail sign.
Not me.
Not you, okay, some of you. Interest was expressed, but I would strongly recommend that we stick with this
Heron,
brand,
the Heron brand.
the Heron brand, and the reddy orange and the green and
Why
white.
not?
And
Yeah.
I will suggest that she make this band wider so the letters can be bigger for the signs that we're getting made for Pingree Hill and
Mhm.
Snake Hill Road. But it's kind of nice to see them all in one place. This is
Yeah.
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 So there's that. So yesterday, I presented an hour-long discussion sort of thing to all 15 or so people upstairs in the Great Hall, staff and invited guests, about the resources section of the master plan. And one of my invited guests was the executive director of North County Land Trust.
Mhm.
And we really need to find someone to help us with our conservation restrictions. We've got AJ's
Mhm.
before us. We'll get one from Shaker Mill Pond. We're
Mhm.
gonna get one from Littleton Road.
Mhm.
And we just don't have
Mhm.
enough of me to go around to ride herd on all that. So it was really nice to have Anna Wilkins there, and she and Robert got talking, and
Oh, yeah?
Robert is very much
Oh, good.
on board with us making a connection with a local land trust, because
Yeah.
Robert feels, as I do, that there isn't enough capacity really in the town to launch our own land trust.
Right. Right.
And for the Conservation Commission to accept conservation restrictions that we can't monitor and manage is doesn't make us look very good with the state.
Is that something that they would be willing to help us with?
Anna is thinking about it.
Okay.
I'm taking Marion Stoddard, who was another of my invited guests, to a meeting in Leominster in a couple of weeks, put on by North County Land Trust. So I'm trying to build that relationship with them. I think it's our kind of our best bet.
Yep.
So that's that update. The MRPC grant that got us our priority conservation areas map. They have another round coming up. I think I might have mentioned it at the last meeting, and I honestly didn't write down whether I should pursue this or not. We can kind of refine our mapping of the priority conservation areas. Yeah, go. Yes, go
Yes.
for that. Okay.
I thought you said you were going to pursue
I think that was in the minutes.
it. Yeah. I think I remember.
All right. You know, if it's not on the pad, it doesn't exist. So now it's on the pad. Al Futterman and I continue to make good progress on the open space and recreation plan. I wrote to the reporter who covers Ayer for the Neshoba Valley Voice about our Boy Scout outing and did not hear back from him. So I will try calling him tomorrow, and I need to confirm it with young Robert too.
Maybe one of us can write a little article and I'll bring my camera.
Yeah, well, exactly, and
You know?
and we can, even if it's just
Submit
a
it.
photo with a caption.
Yeah, a little caption. Yeah.
Yeah. Peroni Park, the contractors came back and unearthed all except a few feet of the controls, and they're not in any danger of having any problems, and now it's all frozen solid anyway.
So that all looks good?
It does look good.
Okay.
It's good. George told you about our planning board meeting outing that was really very well received. Justin Smith sent me a photo the day after our last meeting showing a beautiful straight line of straw wattles staked in. I met with the contractor at formerly 0 Washington Street, now
Right.
156 Washington Street,
Uh-huh.
and went over his orders with him, and then we went over to his site where he has buried some of his erosion controls, and in his effort to move the house closer to the street and pick the foundation up a little bit, has created a really steep slope, really steep slope
Yeah.
on the back, which he's going to have his engineer look at. I said, that's just, it's
Disaster waiting to happen.
Literally, it's like this steep.
I know.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
He's a very nice guy. He wants to do the right thing, and now everything's frozen solid. So, Al Futterman was the third invited guest yesterday, and he gave me a map of some canoe launch sites that they're considering for the Nashua River in Ayer.
Uh-huh.
One of which is at the former David E. Ross building.
Yep.
So it's good that they're working on that.
And that's the Nashua River, that says Nashua River Watershed Association?
Yep.
Okay.
I went out with Steve Smith and his sister Beverly, and a dozen of my neighbors.
That was a great picture.
That was fabulous. And I've got the picture up again. It was just so cheery and so cold, and it takes that kind of work to monitor a CR, and thank goodness we have Steve.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
Not this past Tuesday, but the Tuesday before, I did an MACC webinar where they talked about associate and alternate members. And apparently the Conservation Commission Act prohibits alternate members who could vote without special legislation from the state, but is silent on an associate member. So MACC feels, and I don't have written confirmation about this, but I did ask, that an associate member is completely appropriate, especially if there's a special project that they can bring expertise to. A non-voting member, like Jesse, say.
Okay.
And George asked me to get some kind of confirmation on that, because town council has said no associate, no alternate. But there's apparently a hair to be split there.
Oh,
Big
Oh.
hair,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
all right.
big hair.
yeah. So,
Big
I-
hair. Yes.
so I'm working on getting to the bottom of that big hair. And there they are.
There's.
Yep, yep. Here's Marion, front and center. Yep. And there's about 4 more of them still in the woods there somewhere.
Nice cold
Great day, yeah.
Oh, it was 9 that morning.
Yeah.
It was that first really, and the sky was that blue. It was a beautiful day. So also in your packet, you have the latest weekly report from Omni about the oil spill cleanup and replication. On the second page, kind of right in the middle of the page, under construction activities, it says, as results of favorable confirmatory laboratory analysis, we replicated all these cells. George said he was home last Thursday
Yeah,
and saw
5 18-wheel dump trucks full of soil going up the street.
Did you?
Yeah,
5.
Yeah.
That's a lot to move with that little teeny truck, huh?
Yeah, one little truckload at a time. Yep.
Wow, they were busy,
Busy.
busy.
The other things you have in your packet, this resources goals, these are from the master plan implementation plan. And really section 1 and section 2, and one item from section 4 are what I presented to the rest of town hall staff yesterday.
Say that again, Joanne? What did you present?
Section 1.
Section 1,
Yeah.
all of section
All
1?
of section 1.
Yeah.
Most of section 2. And the last item of section 5,
Okay,
the community garden.
okay.
So I think I've already told you this, that Robert is getting pressure from the selectmen to actually implement the master plan.
Uh-huh.
And so Robert has asked Alan to set up these bi-weekly implementation luncheons where somebody will present a section and talk about where things stand along the timeline of actually completing these action items.
Mhm.
And it was really heartening to see how far we have gotten on these things. Not even really knowing that someone else made this up for us. And things that are listed as low priority as of the time this report was put together are really kind of high priority in some cases. And yeah, so it's interesting to read through. George, I did mention that the Historic Commission is working on the wayfinding also. That's good. And then the last thing in your packet is the conservation analysis for Shaker Pond subdivision proposed. When George and I were at the planning board meeting the other night, we left for a second and then decided we should probably go back to the planning board and sit in the back row and listen to John Boardman present his preliminary subdivision plan, not having received a conservation recommendation from us to the planning board.
So we'll discuss this at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Do you want me to have Oxbow come for the next meeting to present this?
Yeah.
I did talk with Ron Strassel, who was the scientist from Oxbow who took us on our walk out there, and he said if anybody had any questions at all, he would be more than happy to receive them. So if you read this and have any questions, I'm happy to pass them along to him. So that's it for updates.
Okay, I have revised the annual report write-up.
You've revised the thing you sent us?
Yes, with the comments that you gave last time.
Okay. Yeah, I think I printed it. I have a couple.
Uh-oh.
This is due a week from tomorrow.
Oh, these are very simple. Bottom of the paragraph on mission statement, second line from the bottom, I would just make a little edit. Use of the land is limited to prevent alteration as well as preserve open space and conservation functions. So replace and with as well as, and then get rid of the comma after preserve open space.
Okay.
Only other thing I was wondering on that section was, should we, we don't need to, but for citing the Wetland Protection Act, the River Act, and the regulations, should we put in the whole MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and all that stuff? Or just leave it more legible?
Simple is better.
Okay. And the last one, end of, where we conducted 10 group site walks to inspect 23 properties. We just put at the beginning of that, outside of regular meetings, comma, conducted 10 group site walks. Just to
Yeah.
say, we do this outside of the rest. That was it for me. That wasn't so bad.
No.
Do you have to have semicolon after each bulleted?
Yeah,
You do? Okay.
yeah.
Really?
Well, you don't have to, but older generations, that's the way we did things, right, George?
That's right, two spaces after a period and one after a comma.
I still do that.
I do too.
I do that.
Yeah.
That's what
just the way
Mr.
it is.
Strunk and Mr. White tell us.
Omit needless words. That's what they tell us too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
They're my heroes, Strunk and White.
Okay.
All right. If you have anything else, send them along to me.
All right.
Yeah, let's do noon next Friday.
I would say, I would basically, amend, so the 5 bullets down from amended, just strike its, because you don't have its in the second
Oh,
bullet, in
yeah.
the second bullet.
Amended policies and procedures.
Yeah.
Boy, George, how'd you let that one in? We're bad.
Okay, member updates? Mark?
So, we got the email from MACC for the conference in
Conference?
Worcester.
Mm-hmm.
When
March
is it?
2nd.
March
March
2nd?
2nd?
Yep.
Oh.
I did what I thought was quick, put in for the 20
Oh.
free scholarships. It didn't get it though.
Man.
Oh.
They go fast.
Yeah,
They go fast.
that's what she said. Within the first 24 hours, they were sucked up, and I realized that was probably a day or so late. Must have, I should have read it more quickly and succinctly. Yeah, date. That's it.
Okay, John? Bonnie?
I would like to go to that. Yeah.
The sessions look like they're going to be
Yeah.
very interesting.
John, you want to go? Can you go?
What's the date again?
March 2nd?
March 2nd.
It's in, at,
Holy Cross.
in Worcester.
Free lunch.
Is it a Saturday?
Free lunch. Yeah, it's Saturday, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think.
And then they have hors
Yeah.
d'oeuvres afterwards.
Or-
Yeah.
Yep. I'll have to go to that.
Okay, good.
I think I'll go. We can carpool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No updates from me.
Did I tell you about the bylaw? That's it from me.
Nothing else?
Oh,
Oh,
Oh, no.
so you know that clearing sort of across from, on Sandy Pond Road?
Mm.
I had a text from a former member, citizen,
Citizen
who was
B.
wondering about that clearing, and isn't there
Yeah.
some wetlands back there near the railroad tracks?
Mm.
I said I'd check with Mr. Bacon.
Sandy Pond Road near the railroad track.
You know, as you
Before
get,
that
before
little
you get,
church.
yeah, before
Oh,
that church,
Yeah,
On the right.
where they're clearing in the woods over there.
Yeah.
Is there some wetlands back there?
I thought when I looked at the map, the wetlands basically came up to the other side of Sandy Pond
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
what the tributary from
Yeah.
Long Pond into Sandy Pond or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And it kind of stops there.
We
there's
can look
also
up.
that existing house further
Yeah.
down. And
Yeah.
I think there's wetlands on the other side of that house,
Mhm.
Okay.
between that and whatever that subdivision there is.
I've ridden by there a couple of times and kind of gone slow and peered in. I haven't actually gotten out and tromped around back there, but
Now that they've cleared it, it does look pretty dry.
Yeah.
But like I said, I know it's just, again, it's just on the north side of Sandy Pond. Can be pretty wet, right
Yeah.
at one house
Right,
there.
right.
And that reminds me
Mm.
of over near Compassionate Care. They've been doing
Mhm.
some clearing by the railroad tracks there.
Oh, yeah.
And years ago, didn't we have some issues about whether Compassionate Care was going to expand and closer this direction? Because there was part of the drainage system coming from up the hill.
Yeah,
So I don't know who's doing that clearing, but,
I thought that was
Is that the railroad?
railroad. I think
Okay.
it's all railroad.
okay.
Yeah. So based on the map, there is, I mean, I don't know how extensive it is, but there is a wetland kind of system back in there. Right, it's right in here, along the tracks. It's in the back parcel. The back.
I'm just trying to think.
Not.
As I've looked down there, I haven't gone too far down. I've walked a little ways down, but not a lot.
Well,
Yeah.
is that something we could,
Where do we?
skulk around by on Saturday morning?
Sure. They put big signs like no
No
trespassing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we can't trespass anyways.
No.
Right.
I know.
We know this.
Just see what we can see from public places.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
I do think, I think we should get a drone. We should get a drone. It could be fun.
It's a tool.
It's a tool. I do know somebody who just got a drone and he was posting videos and included the video of where he went the wrong direction, impaled in a tree. You just hear this, oops.
All right. I will make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, good night.
Okay.